depending which way. Maybe backed up everywhere.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
I'd hate to be doing one way though, because everything is going to the moment.
Yeah.
Alrighty. 6:07,
Mhm.
says my watch on the wall. We'll bring this. Call a meeting to order. Let's open with a word of prayer. Lord, please with us this evening as we come together. Help us to be diligent to the needs and commitments of this community and this organization. Please be with those who can't be with us and those abroad working on the world's freedoms. We ask this in your name. Review and approval of the minutes. You have nothing in here about is this where we add the amendments to your your agenda change, or is there another?
I didn't put anything new on the agenda, so it'll just be a piece we have to just add, so we can say it
Do we want that?
right after.
Because
we
don't
do it.
normally we approve the agenda and the minutes, or am I not?
I have never put that on there, but I can.
No, at what point do you want to?
Well, we're gonna talk
Okay.
about the agenda. Let's do it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll put
So
an agenda.
Megan wants to to move Jack is gonna be with us, but a little later after 7, so we're gonna move his part of the program to the end.
Which is the MACD summer conference, please.
And Megan's report, we would like to put up to right underneath staff and partnering reports. All those in favor of those changes and approval of the minutes as written. Can I have a motion for that?
Can I add something to it?
Sure.
So what's the guy's name at MACD? The legislative guy. that's
Oh,
in
Dan
Bingham.
Wall.
Yeah.
Mhm,
He sent out an email about legislative days.
mhm.
Can we talk about that email?
Should we talk
I
about it?
haven't had a
under-
chance to look at it yet.
Yeah.
but we
Should
Well,
we
can
talk
that's the
about
comment.
one-
But anyway, should we talk about it under the MACD,
It's not, well,
We're good
or do
with
you
that
wanna do it
here.
before Jack gets here?
Jack can be here for that. I don't care. I just wanted that part because it was like employees can't read it during company time on company
Oh, I did
computers.
read it. So, they're talking about, for example,
What's legal, what's not legal.
Yeah,
That's what I was just.
Because the staff aren't allowed to lobby,
we have to
only
be
we're allowed to. lobby.
voluntary. I
Right.
can't do it on staff hours. So if I were to lobby for the district, I have to be doing it on my own time.
Boards are separate though, because that's like part of our role, basically, as
But
board
before, we
members.
used to get like whole crew here just packed up in there. So now it's like, can't do nothing. Like that, can't take an employee, you can't do that, right?
I would say we should have that conversation with
That-
Jack.
Yeah, it just came out like that and I don't know what's legit, what's not
I can
legit.
pull up the email. Yeah, let's do that with Jack.
Yeah, let's move that to the MACD.
I'll-
Seems like a fitting place for it.
Yeah,
In this all bed?
What were the amendments to the agenda? Wait,
We're moving Jack's portion to the bottom of the agenda,
Which is MACD summer conference,
which along with Doug's question, which, but
legislative
that
day.
don't really need to be in there, just we're moving Jack's.
Yep.
And, or do we need a line in there? What
I
Doug
think
wants?
we need a line because it's different.
Yeah.
So I'll just, well, you could just call it, legislative,
Days. or
Days.
whatever.
yeah.
And then Megan's report is gonna be moved to
After
staff
the,
and partnering.
yeah,
but
I just have
how
a
do you do that?
update. I have an update and some information I wanted to pass on, and I didn't really know how to do it, so.
We good with that?
got it.
So the motion, do we need to read the motion back? Or are we solid, Ben?
Motion to approve the amended agenda and minutes.
Perfect. That is the motion. Can I have a motion in that regard? Please give me a motion in that regard. Somebody
Sure,
from the
I will
board.
give you a motion in that regard.
Thank you.
Yes,
Support? All right,
whatever Rivka said.
all those in favor of that hard motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Alrighty, public comment.
Zoom? Anybody? Nobody on Zoom?
Hello.
Crickets. All right, did we have a staff report that we were
Yeah, so
highlighting out
our
this month?
highlight today is our SISMA, so Natalie is here to present to you all.
Present away.
Okay, so I know that I've met you all before, but I'm Natalie Beacons. I'm the West Michigan SISMA coordinator. I've been with the district for 2 years now, which is kind of crazy. Let me just share this with the people on Zoom really quick. No, it's all right. I don't mind. Okay, they should be able to see them. And hopefully that goes away. There we go. Okay. So. First, let's just remind us all what a SISMA is. A SISMA is a cooperative invasive species management area. There is one for every county in the state. Ours happens to be the largest. We cover Oceana, Muskegon, Ottawa, Allegan, Newaygo, Kent, and Montcalm. So my job basically is to be a resource for anyone's invasive species needs. Even if I don't have the answer, it's my job to get them to the right place. We currently have 2 programs under our SISMA. We have some invasive species strike teams. So these are groups of individuals that come on seasonally. We have 3 strike teams under our SISMA. We have 1 out of Ottawa, which covers Allegan and Ottawa counties. We have 1 out of the Muskegon Conservation District, which covers Muskegon and Oceana. We have 1 out of the Kent Conservation District, which covers Kent and Montcalm, and then we all kind of work together to cover Newaygo. And then our second program is one that only the Ottawa County or Ottawa Conservation District group has. We have an HWA treatment program. This is a group of individuals that are on year-round. They survey hemlock trees in the winter and they treat them in the summer. I wanted to just give you a brief update of project funds and like where we're at and what's new this year. So I know that's really hard to read, but I will give you a summary. Basically, we hold state and federal grants. Well, Ottawa holds our state and federal grants for us. We have one that addresses European frogbit on the Lower Grand River, Reeds Lake, and Pentwater. Last year, we had a new positive point in Pigeon River, so that will be one that is covered under these funds as well this year. This is the last season of this grant. This grant's been around since Drew was around, so we have to wrap it up this season. We then have some core and project funding. So this is funding provided by the state every year to SISMAs. Every SISMA in the state gets that core funding, and that is just to provide security and stability to the SISMA to ensure there's a coordinator there to do the job. The projects, however, are year-long projects. You can write up to 3. The pot is $40,000. Like that's the limit, but you don't always typically write for that. And we were successful in receiving full funding for all 3 of our projects this year. One will be the treatment of excavation companies in our service area to try to stop the spread of invasive species. One is ensuring that we continue to treat the watch list species that we have in our area. So watch list species are species that aren't super prominent yet. There's maybe just a little pocket infestation or not at all. So we still have a chance of eradication. So we want to make sure we're staying on top of those that are in our area. And then the last one was treatment of Japanese stiltgrass sites, which our Kent partners have a lot of those. So we wrote that in for them. The last 2 state grants that we hold are both for hemlock woolly adelgid treatments and survey on the northern front of the infestation. And then we hold some federal grants. So we have some U.S. Forest Service grants and some EPA funding as well. So one of our Forest Service grants allows us to treat Phragmites on the Grand, Kalamazoo, Macatawa, Pentwater, and Muskegon River. So we really hit all of those water bodies down our service area, which is exciting. This is supposed to be the last season of this funding stream. We did extend it. because we had a really hard time with returns on permissions. So one thing that we could use help with is getting people that live on those water bodies that maybe have Phragmites in front of their property to sign a form to let us treat. We sent out a big mailer, but we didn't really get very good return on that, unfortunately. The next one that we have is our GNA funding or Good Neighbor Authority grant. This is continuous. We get it every year until 2025. We're a year behind, so I expect it will go to 26. And this fund is for treatment of invasive species on Forest Service land. So they give us a list of sites and we go out and carry out the treatments for them. The next one, which is new this year, is Sustain Our Great Lakes grant that we received. It will ensure that we can retreat any site that we've already treated that is Phragmites, bittersweet, or knotweed. This was kind of a hole that we had this year as MISGP moved over to that yearly funding instead of those big projects. So we were really excited to be successful in this grant because that fills a huge gap in funding for us. The last one that we hold is an EPA grant. So I spoke before about how we have some sites that we've been treating for European frogbit for a while. But one thing that we haven't really done is surveyed our inland lakes for frogbit. We've kind of just addressed the ones we know. So this funding stream is focused on surveying 10 water bodies, like the priority areas, like boat launches, common offenders of where you would find aquatic invasives like that. So this is the last year of that funding stream, but there is potential maybe for us to continue that project. So this is a breakdown of what the original awards were for all of these grants that I just talked about. And the ones highlighted in green are all the ones that are new to us this year. So we got that core funding that is insured to every SISMA. We got awarded fully the 3 projects we wrote to the state. We were successful in receiving an almost $400,000 grant for hemlock woolly adelgid treatments from the state. And then we were successful in receiving that SOGL grant for $200,000, which should last us hopefully more than even 2 years, which is what the project was written for. Outside of all of those grant funding streams, we also have some at-cost work that we do. This was something that kind of popped up when COVID happened, just to try to diversify our funding. In case there is a freeze on anything again, we have something in our back pocket to continue to support our staff. So our strike team, anything that is invasive, terrestrial, we really stay away from aquatics for permitting reasons, but anything not covered under those grants that I just talked about, we will still go out and treat at cost, which we've determined is about $100 an hour. We also have, for that HWA treatment program, we have an at-cost program as well. However, we have really limited capacity for it. So our wait list is out to 2025 because the majority of the work that that group focuses on is that grant work, which is up in the north front. So we can only really spend about 10% of our time on that project. Currently, we expect that to change. So I just want to give you a really brief overview of our 2022 treatment season accomplishments. So in Ottawa County, our strike team last season was able to treat 114 properties, which spanned over 49 acres and addressed over 10 species. And that is just for Ottawa County. This metric is for, because our HWA crew does such a wide range of things geographically. This is across the whole West Michigan. They treated almost 25,000 trees, which this number, the 24,000, was a record for them. And it seems like every year they treat a little bit more, and it's just incredible. That was over 888 acres. And then the running total since this program began is almost 100,000 trees treated, which we expect our crew will blow past that in at least the first month of treatment, which this is our first month of treatment. So it's really exciting for everyone. And that's a milestone that they get pretty excited about too. So that's a good one.
So that would get a special tag.
The 100,000, we should. We should.
Take pictures and like, see, that would be a great thing if you guys snap a picture, we can get it up on a Facebook and. Hey, we
I
just treated 1,000,000 trees. you know
I
what
will
mean?
100% do that. One of the
Celebrate
HWA crew members is
t-shirts.
on this Zoom call and I'm sure she's writing that down as we speak. So lastly, that's kind of like what we've been up to, what we expect this year. But then I just kind of wanted to, I heard there was some questions about Hemlock Woolly Adelgid at the last board meeting. So I just wanted to give like a little bit of a program highlight, a little bit of background, kind of where we're at now with the state management plan and all that. So first, just a refresher, I'm sure you guys have heard all about this many times, but Hemlock Woolly Adelgid is an invasive insect that attacks the base of the needle of hemlock trees. It is originally from Asia, and it has 2 generations per year, which is what makes it so detrimental. It just really can have a big population boom. It spreads during the crawler stage of life, so that is typically during like April to October. So when you're in hemlock stands from April to October, you really want to be mindful that you're not going up north and spreading it, right? During the winter months, it is dormant and it looks like this. That's like the classic HWA look. It's actually settled and then an adult has laid some eggs in that photo. But when you're surveying for HWA or checking your trees, if you have them on your personal properties, winter is the time to do that. And summer is the time to treat / make sure we're not spreading it. So HWA came to the eastern part of the US in the 1950s, but it didn't really get to Michigan until like 2016 to 18. It kind of started in Ottawa, though I think there were some like satellite populations. And that's really when this program began. Currently, the infestation, let me back up. So going into the survey season last year, the northern front and where we were focusing a lot of our efforts was in Mason County, right in Hamlin Lake. However, unfortunately, they did find a population up in Benzie County this winter, which kind of changed perspective and changed priorities a little bit. We don't expect it like jumped over Manistee. We think we probably just haven't found it there yet. And it is not a small population in Benzie County. It spans a little bit of a range, unfortunately. So the whole goal and the whole statewide management plan, because these grants are state grants that we hold. So we follow the statewide management plan that they have put together. The whole point of it is to protect the main resource of hemlock. So we have 176 to 77 million hemlock in Michigan. And if you look at where we are around here, there is still hemlock, absolutely, but we are a drop in the bucket when it comes to the complete resource that Michigan has of hemlock. So the whole goal and the whole point has been to attempt to slow the spread of HWA. So you work from north to south, the most northern infestation, and you treat south so that we can try to slow down as it moves towards that main resource in hopes that we can find a better, more sustainable solution than chemical treatments. So something like biological control. I can't really speak to biological control. It's something that is on the state, but there has been maybe some hopeful results that have come out in the last couple of years. So what happens if we do nothing? On a small scale, our hemlock trees will die. There's 100% mortality rate. It's not something that's going to go away. Even though it maybe takes 4 to 10 years to kill a hemlock tree, it's inevitable. It is hard to tell from the beginning of infestation how long it's going to take to succumb. It depends on a number of factors, how stressed the tree already is, how well fertilized it is, how well cared for it is. But the first thing you'll see is needle tip dieback. The needles will start to turn like a grayish green, and then they will start to thin and drop needles. It kind of starts from the base and works its way up, but again, it is very variable how trees succumb to it. But eventually you'll see limb dieback from the bottom up, and then the tree will succumb to it. Let's take a step back and talk about what happens if we let all of those individuals die. This is not a new issue. Like I said, it's been in the east since the 1950s, and our southern states have really struggled with this. So we have a firsthand account of what happens when you don't take care of the problem or try to manage it at least. One of the big ones for Michigan in particular, hemlocks love that riparian zone, that area. They shade out those creeks and trout habitat. So imagine if that shade tree, that foundation tree disappears, you're gonna have a lot more sunlight getting to those creeks, the temperature will rise, and you will lose trout habitat, which is a big resource here in Michigan, and a big recreational resource here in Michigan. You will also see a change in the seasonally wet and dry areas. So because hemlocks are an evergreen, they transpire year round, which means that they impact seasonally wet areas in their area. And if you lose that transpiration, you will have things dry up sooner, and just a change in your wetness cycle in general, which will impact amphibian life that use those for their reproduction cycles. I am sure the deer in Grand Haven are many, and I don't know if anyone has noticed, but they love to browse on hemlock. So I know Habitat for Wildlife isn't always the most encouraging one that people hear when they hear it helps deer, but it also helps avian species as well. There are avian species that are obligates to hemlock, and they only will use them to nest and forage. So if they disappear, you lose those sensitive species. Grand Haven is another good example. If you take a walk in any of our hemlock stands, they're right on the dunes. Look at Duncan Woods. And you can imagine losing those huge trees. It's not just going to be a dead tree on landscape, it's going to fall and pull that dune down with it. And as we all have grown up hearing, dune erosion is a big issue in Michigan. With that addition of dead wood on the landscape, you're going to have more of a fire hazard. And then again, because most of these occur on the shoreline, we've all seen those big, beautiful houses up and down West Michigan that are just shaded in beautiful hemlock forests. And as those die, so will the property value.
What they do out east, it's been there since the 50s. How are they doing now?
Not great.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different treatment options. And if you look especially at like the Appalachian area, they've been doing treatments for years and successfully. They're on so when you treat a tree, you have 4 years of protection, depending on the chemical you use, but 4 to 7 is what we're seeing in the research. And they're on their second, third round of treatments down there. And they have seen success with treatments, but they have also seen the devastation. If you look at that photo I had earlier, that is a picture of Appalachia. And so they're seeing the effects when they can't get those widespread treatments done. That's really unfortunate. But we have found good treatment methods through their trials. So what can we do? So honestly, treatment, that is the option right now. Hopefully not forever, but right now that is the option. This is what I tell landowners when they call me and they're in anywhere basically south of Kentwater. So this is something that you can pass on as well if people ask you about it. If you're in our area, you have 3 options. You can hire a crew from a conservation district. Currently, there is our crew that has the at-cost program. And then in the last 2 years, we've been fortunate enough to assist Muskegon Conservation District in starting their own at-cost program, which will hopefully build capacity for treatments in the area. And then we've also helped Mason Conservation District start a hemlock woolly adelgid treatment program as well. Though theirs is grant funded, it still increases capacity and allows us to maybe move a little further south. The second option is you can hire a private arborist. If this is an option people are interested in, we don't usually recommend a specific private person because we are kind of a local government entity, but there is a list on MDARD's website of everyone in the state of Michigan that has a pesticide business license, and I can tell them exactly what categories to make sure they're certified in to do the proper treatments. So that's the second option. And if you want that link, I can send it to you. The third option, this is actually something you can do yourself. The pesticides we use are not restricted use. They're ready to use, and available to everyone online. And this is something that I have, worked with the state. We have a protocol written up. I have some data sheets that I will send to individuals, as well as just general, tips and legal things that they need to be aware of, like, maintaining proper records. And that is all I have for you today. Do you guys have any questions?
I have so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Not so much in to HWA, but
Sure.
Phragmites.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, I see Phragmites
Mhm.
everywhere. So what? And I did have like some door hangers sometimes that I
have a
think
lot.
Keely gave me that I occasionally will just leave like on someone's mailbox, like, hey, that's invasive, but what, so in terms of like the grant, what are you allowed to treat? Where are you allowed to treat? Can people hire the conservation district to treat Phragmites if they want, like the HWA?
Yep, absolutely. So, we do have 2 funding streams right now for Phragmites. So if they're located on the Grand River, the Pentwater River, Muskegon River, Macatawa, or Kalamazoo, have them call me because we have grant funds to treat their infestation if it's in a tributary or like in that water body,
In a tributary?
like of one of those bodies, yeah.
Okay.
And then the second funding stream we have is for anyone that we've already ever treated since like 2018. So if we've already treated them, and they think we've already treated them, still have them call me. We can check our database and see if they're on that list. If not, the third option, we have that at cost program. So they can hire our strike team to come out and treat it at cost for $100 an hour.
Okay.
That might take a little bit of, planning because there are permit requirements depending on the size outlet of a water body or like where the frag is specifically. But I'm sure that we can figure something out to help them out, if they give me a call.
So it needs to be on like an actual riparian body,
So for that one grant, it
Okay.
does, for that one grant.
because I see it in wetlands a
Mhm.
lot, but not necessarily on a.
On a river.
On a river, right?
Sure, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is a question / comment to Megan. You said the one area that you really could use help on would be getting those permissions returned. I was going to suggest maybe that might be something that could be something like a specialist could help with. Just doing that individual follow-up on people that we don't get stuff from. I don't know if you feel like that's like within the umbrella of tasks or not, or if we need to think about
For
a
who?
different way,
For who?
the communications person that we just hired. Cause it's broadly under communications, cause you're communicating with
Yeah.
homeowners, right? Like obviously you guys are not in the office to be sitting down, going through and calling and following up, which is I'm assuming why it's an area of need.
So it's challenging because we only have limited information.
Mhm.
So this project, since we started, so basically we surveyed those rivers,
Okay.
and we took points where that infestation occurred that we found. And then we used a program online to find a mailing address. And that's really all we have to go off of. And so between getting permissions like returned to sender type of deal where it's not the right address, and people just not, throwing it away because they think it's.
Is
Whatever.
another alternative, would that be something that we could coordinate with townships or the other more local government that may have a better list or better access to
Potentially.
contact information?
And that is something that we do with HWA. I've sent out a lot of informational stuff with tax bill type stuff, and that would be definitely something to explore for the Phragmites thing. Can you make that up?
So you must be using like
Really-
GIS or something like that to kind of aggregate a list of properties.
Yes,
And-
yeah, and then we use like Regrid, to look up the address.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Texville
that's
is a
where,
great idea, cause I'm in Robinson Township, they always have separate flyers and info and
Mhm.
whatever, of like. FYI, register your dog, FYI, yes, you need a permit for that fence, like whatever they feel like
Right,
people don't know, so that could be a good solution.
that's a really good idea.
So you're just cruising up and down the river finding these locations, correct?
Yes, that is what we
Can we
did.
legally stick something like in their bank? I mean, most houses have got like a mode part or of access to that waterway.
Hmm,
Can we legally take I ain't talking a yard sign, but just
Something.
something that has a picture of this invasive species and how to get a hold of us and
Maybe. I
therefore
would have
it's,
to ask some questions
Maybe
before
call
I
it
did
if
it, but
it's
well,
potentially.
again, that's why I asked legality
Yeah,
of,
legally.
you know, maybe you can stand in the boat and you don't even have to go on their property type of thing. But I mean, again, then they would have to go out and physically remove this and
Read it.
i.e. look at it, read it.
yeah, I'm not sure, is it against the law for you to approach someone's home and knock on
I
the
don't
door and
think
say,
so.
hey?
No, we can do that, and that is something, not the
Can you do it from the
staking,
waterway?
I don't know,
Yeah,
but
cause
not
like
the staking, but
going
the,
to someone's house, that's labor intensive, right?
right, we were planning on having this year, when they're out treating what we do have permission for, having them have blank permissions, that if they find an infestation, someone can hop out and go knock on the front door. But I guess I didn't think about,
To be honest, this is kind of something I envision engaging volunteers on to help.
That's what I was just gonna
And
say,
door
maybe we
knocking
could
is,
do like a
been
volunteer
the
project.
only thing that is like,
Cause that seems
Can't
like
get to
a,
it.
that seems
Right.
like a pretty good project-based thing for a group of high schoolers or a group of,
Like
like, just
FFA
can
kids.
go. Door to
Sure.
door and hand out, put,
They have endless amounts of energy as well.
and Phragmites you don't treat until the fall. So we have really until August, September, timeframe to secure those permissions. So that does give us enough time to throw some dots
I
together.
mean,
That's
I see
excellent.
Phragmites
cause I
everywhere.
know like, Mia's been working with Lexi on different things that Black River kids who have mandatory service hours that they have to complete every year. So with some lead time, like, and I know that there are other schools in the area too that also have service-based programs or extracurriculars like West Ottawa. I forget what the name of it, but they have like a volunteer club basically. So tapping into some of those resources might give us some like person hours
To
to
do it,
get to
yeah,
doors.
because we said all winter we were gonna door knock.
It's,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's way more fun to do with like a group of 20 people on a Saturday afternoon
not
and you
two
can get like
people by
a few
yourself.
hundred done
Yeah.
than
Yeah,
like two staff members who are like, are they gonna be mad about me?
Well, that and our
That's
staff
true, that's
members
true.
ought to be doing the work and
Right, exactly.
I
The
would
stuff that
assume
requires
you're busy
specialized
enough.
Training, yeah.
without doing the
Little
PR end of it, so.
yeah.
Any more questions?
So the strike teams, like this wait list into 2025, I feel like this is something that we keep circling back around to. Training Muskegon, training Mason, what other things do we have on our radar as far as ways to expand capacity for filling that need? Cause if
Yeah.
we've got a wait list that long, obviously, there's a need
There is a want for it.
Yeah.
We also have, kind of roped Alec into it as well. So
Okay.
honestly, we, in the last year, have built capacity times 3.
Would it be a good idea to maybe do a training workshop for self-treatment? Like I know that the conservation on tap that we did was really well attended. That was more informational, like you did briefly
Mhm.
talk about self-treatment. But if we had a workshop just specifically for self-treatment, where you're just going through the nitty gritty of here's your forms, here's your chemicals, like just talking about that specifically for owners that want to do self-treatment.
Mhm.
Do you think that could be effective?
Yes, and that is something that we have set up with Spring Lake and it got canceled. And then we have something kind of similar in the works with Port Shelton. And I have a DNR counterpart that is, when people need more hands-on help, that is who we direct them to, because they can actually go out and show them how to do it. And she is someone that would 100% come and assist with that kind of workshop. So yeah, that is something that is on our radar, that we can do.
Well, and I think I may have brought this up before, but this might be a good time to bring it up again, but I recommend keeping someone available to take on those contracts all the time somehow. right? So like if you have a team that has to focus on your grant. You know, whether it may, you know, and how you find that individual, maybe a challenge, or maybe it's someone who's did it previously, right? So
You're
that,
talking about like to do contract treatment specifically.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my thought, cause if it's unrestricted money, you know. But maybe finding someone might be, and keeping someone there to do that might be difficult, but.
It is something that has crossed our minds, but we have never pursued it.
We've
I
kicked it
think one of the
around
biggest
before.
things
Yeah.
that blocks us in that is, I don't think it would be particularly finding this talent, but, it would mean double the amount of trucks, it means double the amount of chemical, it means double the amount of equipment, you know, like, the logistical piece of it
Yeah.
does just add up. These guys need a lot of stuff to operate, so we talked about it, waded into it, but we need vehicles for people we have right now.
Right, so you're
Kind of
just like at
Just not enough
capacity with
time
the
to
stuff
pay.
that you have.
Yes.
I
currently.
think so.
Yeah.
I think that's
Okay.
probably the best way.
Mm,
And again, to keep it at $100 an hour, there's no way that we could hire two people and put them in a
Right.
truck and
Right.
send them out.
Well, that's for,
Yeah.
that's for strike team.
Yeah.
For
HW is different.
HWA, it's a whole different ballgame.
I'm talking about that for hire,
Yes,
We
there's
have
two
one for
50
both.
bucks a person.
but I'm just saying though, we'd have a hard time doing that for $100.
It's two different things. So the for hire for the $100 is just like terrestrial and aquatic, so that's separate. HWA is a completely different for hire program, and the way they put together their price estimates is very specific. It's not $100 an hour. Their
Okay.
chemicals very
It
expensive.
varies
It varies.
greatly on property to
Mm.
property, unfortunately.
You'd have to you'd have to go out, survey, give an
Yes.
estimate.
And we
It's a little
do.
bit more labor into the.
And we have all the SOPs for it, and the infrastructure. I think Megan's right. I don't think we have the room.
I don't know how we would capacity wise hold another two people
Yeah.
and another vehicle.
Well, it sounds like you got a
More to think
lot of
about. eh?
different ideas going,
Always.
so, any more questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Natalie.
Absolutely.
That brings us up to Megan's report.
Yeah. So, I thought. One of the things I think I would rather have on the agenda, I think it's important I take a minute and go over my report. So I am gonna just quickly breeze through this so you guys know what I've been working on. And then I also have some updates for you on, what I'd like us to prepare for our next board meeting. So,
Is there a
Let's-
specific thing that we're looking for that we should be?
no,
looking
this is
for?
my board
Okay.
report.
I was just.
And this
pulling
is
up
where you do your finance, correct?
This thing.
Nope. This is not where I do my finance. This is just my update that I asked you to add to the agenda. So my update is that we have some policy pieces that, we need to review. So between, stuff that Pam Evans has sent, a while back, I think it was maybe last January even. And we talked about it in the HR committee, that we had some policy pieces, and then, Callie had worked on our election policy and had sent that back to me. And so I wanted to send out all the policy pieces that we need to take a look at and, get them into your hands so that you guys have some, vision of what either we currently exist or what we'd like to add. So the policy pieces are things like communication crisis management, disclosure of news and information, document destruction procedure, the election policy, and then a conflict of interest policy. So those were the policies that we were gonna just continue to massage, I guess, or create. Some of these we don't have. Some of the ones that Pam had suggested we might wanna look into having. So I'm really just going to give you some information so that we can come back to the July meeting and workshop it. And then in the September meeting, vote on it. So we can kind of workshop the policies that are still kind of out there that we need to wrap up. And then vote on it in the September meeting. So it gives us plenty of time, but that way everybody is on the same page. And can have conversations, and we know when we come in here, we'll workshop that and have those conversations. So.
And just a side note on that we discussed in the HR committee when we were talking about the policies originally a few months ago. There are specific bylaws related to these policies that you need more notice for review.
Yes,
So it's not like something that you can send out the week before and then vote on. There has to be like that window of time for
Conversation.
review so that everybody can feel comfortable with it.
yeah, and some of them are new. Some of the stuff that Pam sent us were stuff that I gave her a policy and she took a look at it and just went through and took a look and said, hey, consider these pieces. And so that's what those are. So it's just for you guys to know it's coming. And then the second piece is that I'm gonna send you some information on the Michigan Employee Retirement Service, or otherwise called as MERS. I have been talking to an advisor there about potentially enrolling our staff into this retirement plan. So first, I'm gonna send you some information. The MERS representative is gonna talk to us in July. And then it gives us an opportunity again to review. And in September, we'll vote on it. So same idea, working up to it. So you got plenty of time to digest, ask questions, understand what we're presenting. So those are the things I wanted to make sure I passed on that I am planning for next month's meeting. You guys have any questions on this?
So for reviewing of the policies, because I can see that kind of, because there's other policies too that we've talked about reviewing. Are we gonna create a committee for that, or what is your recommendation on reviewing some of that?
So that, those policies and procedures are specifically named under the HR.
Okay.
Like committee responsibilities, but I think the goal is send it out to everybody. That way, everybody, if they have a specific thing they want to suggest or recommend, or language that you want to put in, then the HR committee can kind of collate all of those recommendations to have like, here's the HR committee's recommendations based on everybody's recommendations, so that we have like something cohesive to review and vote on.
And we'll definitely have some conversations about that at the next
Yeah.
meeting. So then you guys will compile the recommendations, work on it. And then in the September meeting, we'll take everybody's feedback and create what we want.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think the MERS thing is good. I think,
it's exciting.
is it, so if it's a retirement thing, but that's not necessarily healthcare.
No, it's not healthcare, not yet.
Okay.
Healthcare's too expensive. But yeah, it is a cool move. And I think the staff is kind of excited about it. I think you guys will be interested to hear what they have to offer and what our budget can handle, so.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Otherwise, I have been doing a ton of hiring this month, last few months. So that has been a big piece of my life. Other things that have been, involved in that was some of the preparation for the MERS conversation in July. I met with our insurance, adjusters, and they went over our annual insurance covers. We discussed our needs. I did schedule our audit, so that the engagement letter is out there, and that's scheduled for November. I worked on a lot of budgeting for cultivating resilience, annual meetings, staff appreciation, other equipment needs. So I've got some budgeting moving in that. I did adjust our appropriations budget to allow for new streams of funding. Those are the funding that you're hearing from Natalie today. We had an end of a quarter, so there was a lot of quarterly reporting to do in April. Met with both the HR and Finance Committee monthly, so that was helpful. Continuing to work with the county and the groundwater board. So we had a board meeting there. I did get to meet two of our new commissioners, which was positive and well received. So I felt really good about that. I have a meeting with our deputy administrator and our county administrator on next Tuesday. So I'm going to discuss our history, and I have a nice layout for how I'm gonna address them, and working with our staff in order to make sure that we're not missing anything. Tree and plant sale. Tree sale was fantastic. Plant sale is coming along. I'm not gonna go too deep into it. Annual meeting and elections. I hope you guys all ordered your apparel, because we're done. I hope everybody
I
did it. Did you, Matt? Did you
did.
get yours?
I think I did it right.
I sent like,
Well, the link you sent didn't work the second time, so I sent you an email and then it didn't send, so I just.
it just needed a minute to refresh, because she closed it. And then I said, hold on, wait, there's people missing here that I need to tell. So then I sent you guys that link, and she just hadn't, it's open, although it's probably closed now.
Yeah,
So,
because on Friday I clicked on it and it was closed, and then I came back to it
yes,
yesterday and it was.
Oh, you tried it again?
I did.
I never-
I figured it was something like that.
yeah, so,
Same thing I brought up, there's only like 3 items, 4 items.
That's all there is. There's like, well, there was like 10 items.
Yeah,
Mhm.
8 of them for women, 2 for girls.
That's not true. That's not true at all. Okay, and then, plant sale is going on right now, and both tree and plant are being headed by Lexi, so things are going smoothly. Annual meeting is around the corner. Invite people,
Quick question on
respond to
the-
our invites.
Sorry, quick question on the tree sale,
Mhm.
how, cause I know we just closed.
It's on
pre-orders.
here.
Okay, cool,
I don't want to go too far, but I need to review what I do.
good, good,
Because
good.
I think it's important you guys hear it. Annual meeting, taking up quite a bit of our focus and things are going really well. Right now, we're really focused on getting invites out and getting people to attend. We have some, the date is on June 13th,
So I think-
Hemlock Crossing. And I also brought some postcards and some little posters you guys can pass
We'll
out.
be snatching
Yes,
some of those.
Take some of those. And I can send you email templates. So if you have people you want to email or send these to, go ahead and do that.
Oh, that was great.
Logistics are coming along really well. Awards, dinner needs, staffing needs, presentation needs, all that's been pretty much taken care of. I have a committee in the office. Natalie and Sarah and I have been working on annual meeting, and then sending that out to everyone to continue the work we need. Otherwise, that's where I'm at. Next month, my goals are to continue to finish the annual meeting, to continue our county legislative steps, have a successful meeting with the county, and to continue onboarding new staff. So that's really where my head is at in May. That won't be much more than that. But is there questions on the work I'm doing right now? I know there's lots of questions. The rest of it comes up in the agenda. But hi,
Right.
any questions on that?
Carry on.
Do you need any? Like help, like we helped with refreshments and stuff like that last year. Do you need some assistance with any of that?
Yeah, so I sent Rivka just a few sponsorship needs. They were pretty basic, like drinks and dessert, which I thought would be kind of easy. And then some funding for the purchase of the awards and the scholarship plaque. So
If
very
you want me
simple.
to forward you the sponsorship specifics that we're looking for, like.
Yeah,
we
that
can
would be
definitely
helpful.
work together on that.
I really want people in the seats. So
Okay, butts
any-
and
that-
seats, that's what
I
you
need,
want.
right? So
All
if
right.
you're looking to work on something, that's what I need.
I can,
Yeah,
all right.
I've
I'm
said
taking the
there's gonna be
summer off too, baby.
Yeah.
No school.
So
So-
that's what's happening there. Otherwise, that's it. That's my highlight. That's my update.
Let's roll right into finance then.
Yeah, okay. So in your packet, you have your, Jack, did you grab a agenda and stuff up there?
I have an agenda, I'll get the other
Yeah,
stuff on the
there's
table
a
there.
finance packet there if you'd like to take a look at it.
A lot of color. this one.
Actually, they're pretty. Colors help me. I don't know if they help you there.
Oh, that's.
I need to use the restroom real quick.
So I'll start with the first packet, your grant snap sheet. So this one here,
Snap sheets.
snap sheet, I don't know, snap, whatever. It's just a moment in time, look.
Tim.
So,
Don't tell me you're all waiting for me out.
well,
Oh,
it
no.
started at 6. So you're a little late. But that's okay.
What happened to 7?
You
Finance.
voted on it last
Well,
meeting.
I thought it was 6:30 or 6:30, actually, went back. and
I'm
forth
sorry.
between
That's
these.
okay.
Nope.
Have a seat.
We all assume that. So
Yeah. We
we're
I
good.
assumed 2 of them made it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We still got plenty to do, so catch right up.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're
Where
just
we at?
now on
have
financial.
it. We're on the first
Start with
major
notice.
bullet.
folder.
That is your folder.
This is one right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we're looking at the grant snapshot, not the other word. And this shows you the current grants that we're operating under. There are 3 new projects that we haven't talked about here. Our MISGP Core 22, our MISGP Project 22, and MISGP HWA 22. Those are all new. You guys did receive those grant contracts in your packets. So I'm sure those were fun to read through, but you did get them. The amount of those grants are there under the total amount for the time awarded. We haven't spent anything in those. And then it also gives you the time frame that those grants will run. So both core and project run a year. HWA runs 2. And then Soggle, well, we've already discussed Soggle. So those are our new items. Those are also the new items that I've added to the appropriations budget, which we'll get to in a second.
Quick question on those grants. Are there for 1 year or 2 years respectively? Are they ones that are likely to continually renew and become those kind of standard grants?
So the grants that Natalie presented on, that she was talking about, the core funding, and then she talked about the project funding for the
Mhm.
year. Those are those specific grants. The core funding is pretty reliable. That I
That's
feel like it's guaranteed. The project is just depending on if we have the projects that then rank and value to be worth the time. So far, that has gone really well. We have a good team. They find that there's good projects, so. I would say I feel pretty confident about that continuing. We've had it this whole time. So, for the last 8 years, I would have hoped that we continue to find that to be a source of funding. It could change. I mean, all of these could change. They are grants.
I have a question about that too. How-
Yes, sir.
How deep do we get into these reports? Is that for later or now?
This is it. This is your finance. So dive in.
Get it into into this?
Into this, to the grant
It's,
itself.
Yes.
So
Should we do that later?
I guess I guess it doesn't matter. We are gonna talk about well, yeah, go ahead and do it now. As long as it's one that if it's one of these three or the ones on the sheet. If
Well,
it's one we're applying for, then let's wait.
I think that's what it is. Let's wait then.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Grant amounts, those are the total grant amounts that we're holding right now, so a little over $3 million in grants, but they span over different timeframes. You'll see the amount we spent in that third column and what we have left. Then you also kind of see that percentage amount, the time frame that it spans, the total amount of indirects or overhead, and then what indirect and overhead we'll get from those projects yet this year. So you can see those there. It's pretty up to date. It's up to date as of April, as of the end of the quarter there. So I think you guys can have a good snapshot of where we're at with our grants.
So these indirects are the like additional overhead? That,
It's the part that we write in to a grant that is meant to be for like administrative overhead costs. So for the lights, for the rent, for the lease on the vehicles, for our insurance, for all the miscellaneous expenses that we
Cost of doing
cannot
business.
charge a grant.
right.
Yes, so we usually get about 10% of the funding, not in all grants, in some.
Yeah, it's
And
good.
that is what those are, and that helps us keep our doors open. This piece is about half of our operating cost,
Okay,
so.
that's significant.
Mhm,
And this county number is current up to date.
it is,
Okay.
it is. So in that little income box down there, you'll see the 2023 indirects. So those are what I anticipate that we'll get through indirects. Now, this is a variable number because it depends on how much we spend. If I don't spend money out of the grant, I'm not gonna get indirect from the grant. So if for some reason the MEP grant, our MEP technician leaves, well, maybe that's not MEP, MEP is not in that category. Yeah.
Don't get all worried.
Yeah, so MEP is not in that category, sorry. But let's say that Natalie loses her strike team, she can't function. I'm not gonna get the indirects from the strike team. because
Right.
She's not spending money. So that, in some grants, so there is variables.
in general,
Both cities.
spending money. man.
In general, this is what I anticipate. And it's the lower end. We have our county funding. And then we have our fundraisers. Our fundraisers are going really good, so this number's
Read
gonna
that
go
when
up.
tree sale went well.
We were just on tree sale, $23,000.
Nice.
And plants are like flying out the door, right? It's good.
Yeah.
Was
And
that
then-
net or gross?
That's our profit. That's our revenue.
Thank you.
Yes. And I do have an invoice in here. We'll talk about that in a minute. VRAs are another thing that we are building this year, so I actually anticipate that number will be higher as well. So vegetation removal assurance permits. Sarah and Ben do these, where they go out on properties that are in critical dune areas. And if they're doing construction, like a septic system or building a deck, we go out there, we take a look at what vegetation they're taking out, and they make recommendations for what needs to go back in. And they put together that permit that needs to go to Eagle. We charge for that. And we work with contractors that then just write that into the work they do. So the contractor often comes to us, we do the permitting piece, and then they pay
That was my
us.
question. Who calls you or who?
Right now, it's almost exclusively contractors. We have had a few, maybe throughout the years that have been an individual, maybe. But mostly contractors. Yeah, Ben does it, that's why I was looking. So that's where our main income is derived from. Then you have the little box down here that I always call our closed door funds. I take the liabilities and equity that are on our balance sheet, and we'll take a look at in a second. Funding that we need to reserve for other, that isn't ours to spend. So we hold, suggested service cost funding for the, invasive, for the SISMA. And it's from several different, strike teams. And so we hold that for them as when they need it, we then can disperse it. Some of the for hire work, we have a little bit there. And then we're also the treasurer for, the West Michigan Conservation Network. So there's a small amount in that treasurer account that isn't really ours to spend. So I subtract that out of our liabilities. And then and then that gives me the idea, if I were to stop everything today, do all my reporting, the district would have somewhere around $227,000 in the bank. Now, that is not what we have in the bank today. It's just what would happen if everything stopped today, in theory. So that's the best way I can give you a snapshot of kind of the overall.
Yep.
So the numbers come from, I did put together your profit and loss. And there's a nice comparison from last year, which gives you a good picture to see if there's a lot of difference. One of the things that, so this is pretty basic. It shows where the money's coming in throughout the last year and where it's going out. This year, we have already brought in a little over $800,000, and we've already spent a little over $700,000. So pretty similar to what we did the year prior. And you guys can take a look at that. The
I
balance,
got a quick question.
Yes,
in
sir.
there. I
Go
don't
ahead.
see it on this one, but on my computer, what are square fees? That's to use the square for people to use a credit card at the tree sale. I
that's
assume?
an excellent question. Yeah, so it's what
That seems
I,
high to me.
it's the square fee. So we've been charged since we started using Square. I can't make it look good on here.
Ain't like 4%?
It's like 3% and 30
Yeah.
cents.
Where
No,
is it on here? Why am I not seeing?
2.9.
2.97, yeah. Because it doesn't, it's
Is
smushed
it
into
lumped
this
under
number.
general
would be-
operations
Okay,
or?
I seen it on the, no big deal.
It's a good question. It's smushed into this number, so I can expand these reports and you get a
No, that's
lot,
fine.
but it's smushed into this,
Okay.
this number here when we talk about liabilities. And so it subtracts out. You're seeing the whole amount, which I don't love, and I need to talk to my accountant on how to fix.
So is that a month or is that a whole
It
quarter?
says
or-
we've started using Square in 2016.
Oh,
Right?
that's a different.
It's a
yeah.
different number, and I don't like the way it shows here, and I'm not sure it's in there correctly. What that is every time someone uses a credit card, and I
Yep.
count for it in their fees, they charge them 2.7% plus 30 cents.
Yep.
So when I have to deposit money, I have to show it coming out. And when I show it coming out, it creates that bucket. And that bucket, I need to find a way to make it flow better in this report. So
Okay.
it is kind of one of those things that I don't love how it looks here. It shouldn't look like that. It should look,
I'm not sure quite, is it under the expenses?
you're not seeing it
It's
because I
not,
bulk.
it's on the report that came on my email.
Mhm.
where I seen it.
Oh, okay.
I bulk, so I can make these really long and you can see every detail in every line item,
Thank you.
or I smush them. So like, for example, you see a checking and savings. This is what we have in checking, savings and in petty cash.
Okay.
You know, like you see receivables, I'm not listing out every receivable, I'm catching, I have, so it's that kind of thing, so it's
Right.
in that number, it's smushed into liabilities down
Yeah,
here.
trying using a
It's in the
credit card
report.
thing is. they be
It's in the
taxing.
report thing, so as far as like
Yeah.
where Tim found it, so.
But this number
We do see
here,
the number.
this 248, this number at the end of our balance sheet, that is the number I use on our close the door funds, in that little gray box on the top.
Okay.
That helps me come to the number of what we would be if I did all of our reimbursement.
Lots of little equations that go into that calculating.
You have to move things around. So that's how I come up with these numbers. The next piece you see in here that I'm hoping is semi-helpful is a forecast piece. Looks like this.
Yep.
So like I said, the money we have in our account isn't the close the door fund money. That's not what I got, right?
That's-
So Doug and I always are,
Yeah.
we're always balancing our budgets. Right now, we have $94,090.80 in our accounts together in May. You can see here the list of, when you go down that May column of what I am anticipating to receive in May. I anticipate to receive some funding from the SISMA. I anticipate to receive funding from RCPP. I anticipate more funding from VRAs and our native plants. So those are the funds that are coming in. The next line that you see with the parentheses, that means it's a negative. It means I'm subtracting it out. So payroll, what it runs me for May. Bills, this is the estimate, total estimate, because bills aren't always this high. But I decided to make it high so that I'm accounting for anything that might pop up. So that's that number. I have some chemical that you signed a check for, don't have the money yet. Natalie's writing in advance, but you see that there. So that type of thing.
That's for treating the woody algae or whatever.
Yeah, all of the chemical we
Yeah, big
buy.
Chemical bills. What,
Mhm.
30 grand or so?
This one is 30, yeah, but this would be HWA. And then there is a bill as well for terrestrial and aquatic.
So we had 100 grand in there.
Yeah, it goes
30.
in and out really fast. We don't make interest.
What's payroll now?
So right
Every 2
now,
weeks.
payroll, I did a monthly now, and it's about $46,000 a month this month. The next 3 months are gonna be higher because we have
Right.
the techs, we have the strike team. And then they'll kind of flow back down. So I really tried to show that me accurately-ish.
Huge chunk.
So
Ish.
why is it higher in October again?
Yes,
Like I
that's a
understand the
great
summer strike team, but.
Stipends. I pay
For
stipends
Christmas
out. I
and
pay
stuff.
stipends out every quarter, so retirement and healthcare stipends get paid out.
Mm.
And so that's why those are.
And
higher.
that's why July is higher.
That's why July is
also.
higher, and that is why October is higher. Okay, and then I have our rent and our car payments is the 3,200, that's being subtracted out. You look down to the very bottom row, that gives you an idea of how much money at the end of each month will be in the bank account. So I know that I'm not overspending, underspending, I have some idea of the flow of funds. It's not perfect science, but it does help
estimate.
me
It's
see
better than it used to be.
100%. It's not just in my
We did
head.
have a scare a couple pay periods ago.
We did.
Somebody didn't pay and we had like 5 grand bank account.
It got
For 2 days before it was
second.
payday.
It got a second, but we had some things that we had to square up, so. I think those are all corrected and we'll be fine.
Yes.
So here's my question. We don't know the future. What if somebody don't pay? Do we have a little kitty somewhere to
We got
bounce
what
this
you-
off of, or Doug's back pocket, or how do we do that?
Yeah,
We actually don't.
we don't.
Should we?
Yes, we should.
Yeah, we talked about that
Well,
and try to get better.
So how can we do that? Should we start budgeting 5,000 a month somewhere and just put it somewhere and shut the door?
We
Yeah.
get people, so we, like, the new people they hired, they have to spend it,
Mhm.
our money,
To get
and
it.
then she gets reimbursed back later.
It can be
That's
hard.
where all our money goes.
Yeah, because we put out, our quarters, we typically loan out, I guess, the
Mhm.
district,
Well,
around
they use our
200,
money,
around
yes.
$200,000 a quarter. Our buffer is getting bigger, other than this last quarter, but typically our buffer is bigger. And what I like to see here is you'll see like at the end of June, in theory, I should have $50,000 in the bank account. That's a big deal to come to an end of quarter and have $50,000 in the account. I feel like we are building that buffer. Now, what you're saying is putting it in somewhere separate,
Mhm.
which could be something we consider. And I would want to just, I'd want to wait till our buffer gets a little bit larger before I move
It's not
some of
fair.
it.
No, I know, we did that on the farm. We just said, we're never gonna do it unless we force ourselves. We just
Unless
took
force
4,000 a month and just put it in an LPL account and just
Well,
shut
I'm
the
gonna
door,
write
no look.
I'm gonna write it down because it's not a bad thought.
Cause, and even if it's not 4,000, even if it was 1,000 to start.
Well, start somewhere.
Exactly, yeah, I
There's
would be a
always
fan of
something
that.
that comes up that.
That's where, and then something's broken, you need, well, you better, not this month, next
She
month.
needs another truck.
I do need another truck.
Well, and we were able to cover what she did because of what we had. I mean,
But bad things happen.
but we
Yes.
got
I-
terribly close to the thin line.
We did.
Because of glitches. It wasn't that they weren't, it was just. a
Just the
glitch in the
perfect
car.
storm thing happened.
But no, I will take a look at that. I think it is a really good thought. And even if we just did a little, we could afford 5,000 a month. I
Mhm.
mean, there's no
If
reason.
you
we
could
couldn't.
get to where we could pay A period of pay.
Yes,
right?
10-4.
That would
Mhm.
Like Dave
Help
Ramsey said,
everybody
that
else.
the
Yes.
30 or a 60-day emergency fund. if you will.
Correct. Yeah, no,
Right.
it's so.
But remember, we started with nothing.
Oh, I
That's what they
get
do.
it. I get it,
mean,
but things
I
happen.
mean, we had
But we're
$600. so
Yeah,
they could-
I agree. And if we have a specific goal, we can always create some way to get there, right? Whether it's, sell 100,000 tree milestone t-shirts, limited limited edition t-shirts. I mean, we could do a
You're
specific
fired.
campaign.
I know, right?
Yeah.
To reach that specific goal.
Well,
I think, once we have an idea of what we want to do, we can problem solve to make it happen.
hmm.
Yeah, so that's predictions. I took a note. I think that's a really good thought, and I am gonna pick Doug's brain on what we might wanna do about that. I think there could be a place for a second savings and to just funnel a few thousand in there, so.
Any regrets with the trucks?
We need one more. Yeah.
No regrets. They're,
No regrets?
yeah, we
Oh,
love
no.
them.
We had
Nobody wants to drive the Ranger. I mean,
It probably has no air conditioning. Is it a stick?
See, that's,
No.
you're gonna have to,
Okay.
that's what happens, you get them a
We're
nice
spending
one
that
and
a
then
little
no one
bit.
wants to drive the.
Didn't even
All
reach
right.
55
Where
miles
we
an
at?
hour on the highway.
So,
okay.
do we need to know more?
Appropriations, so the next
she's
piece
not
on
in.
here is, well. It's not really the next, tree sales, and well, all right, we'll go to tree sale.
Where are we going?
Tree sale.
Do we
Then
need to
we'll go-
vote on paying the bills?
Oh, yes.
And all that?
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
That's what I asked, was it not?
cleared into my head,
Yeah,
through
we need to pay
repetition,
bills.
so.
Please.
I will move that we accept the reconciliation report and a motion to pay include a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Perfect.
You good, Ben?
Yeah,
All those in favor of paying the bills?
All right.
Opposed? Pay the bills.
Excellent. So information, tree sale was really well received this year. I did up prices and that is obviously reflected. We sold very similar amount of trees. The tree number was similar. We had more customers. But we did up the price for our small bundles. They are more labor intensive to do 5 bundles of 5, 10 and 25. And so I upped the price accordingly. And then as you got to the higher, they only went up a very small amount. It was a big jump. So, I was not sure how it would be received. Did not get
Any complaints?
any complaints. So it was amazing. And you see the profit we were able to bring in. Last year it was 13,000. This year we're at 23. I mean, that's a $10,000.
Did we
increase.
sell? I.e. more trees?
No,
Or was
same,
it just
same number.
Same amount of trees for more? Perfect.
And we had a few more customers.
Yeah.
Our customer base is building for sure. But it goes in fluctuations. People don't need 1,000 trees every year.
You get a lot of repeat customers?
We do have a lot of repeats. But I also get a ton new. I mean, I would say it's half and half. Almost every year, I'm surprised by the new ones. It's good.
I wanted to throw that out there. One thing out there is. I know that we've kind of been devastated by the ash borer and what are, maybe that's something, and I do not know enough about ash trees or how bad the ash borer was, or, you know what I'm saying? They're dead, that is the door now, but in terms of like restoration
Most of them
and,
sawdust.
you know what I'm saying, is that something that could possibly be added to,
A future?
yeah.
I can't speak to it. Can you?
I have not heard of that with ash trees, but plant some hemlocks.
I got loamy soil, y'all.
So
Um,
I can definitely reach out to Ben Savoy and see his thoughts on what, if when ash can be reintroduced, if it's even possible. I don't know.
Right,
I don't have that answer.
They are in
They're being reintroduced.
my forest, they're growing again.
Oh,
Oh, mine too.
Oh,
Good.
they're there.
15 feet tall.
But they get about so big and then it seems like I don't know if the bark comes loose or something, that's when they attack and then they're dead.
Dead.
They
So
can-
They're reproducing.
I did the ash borer. If you're talking about the trees are reproducing.
Yeah.
I read online that they can be treated. But how one does that, I do not know.
It's
Um,
basil treatment, you drill a hole into the bark and then pound in little insecticide bomb before you can inject them. And it's outrageously expensive.
okay,
But then how long does that last? You don't know.
1 year.
1 year?
Yeah, do it every
so when they,
That got hit, big ones, but there's some that not phased at all.
okay,
My woods is full of them. Full of dead ones too.
Yeah, full of it.
So yours are, they start to grow and then the ash borer is like, oh, hey, there's a tree.
The big ones are gone, either still standing or tipped over and gone. I cut a lot of them to fire with neighbor. And but there's a lot of them about this size. And there's some of them starting to die now, so I don't know if there's a certain size or that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Our former DC, Heather Arbancourt is on our meeting, and she did make a comment about ash borer.
He
So,
said, you can't really plant them yet, the ash borer is still too prevalent, any new ash tree planted will be killed by the borer now. We'll have to wait until the population of ash borers die off and then lose their food source.
Starve 'em out.
It's the source all the time.
sounds fun.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Any more questions
Any other
on the tree
questions?
sale?
Yeah.
Good.
So I
Summer
don't know,
conference.
do we don't need to move that since Jack's here. Are you good with keeping it where it's at? Okay.
Well, we already kind of moved it. So what is the proper way would probably be to leave it? Jack ain't going nowhere. You're gonna be here till the end, right, Jack? All right.
All right.
We
We-
moved
we
you
moved
till the
you.
end
Because
to accommodate, so let's, appropriation budget.
Yeah, so this guy, which printed sideways, I apologize, but I just decided not to waste any more paper. This is your appropriations budget. I amended it to include the 3 new streams of funding. HWA Core 22, HWA Project 22, and HWA, I'm sorry, I said that all wrong. Erase. MISGP Core 22, MISGP Projects 22, MISGP HWA 22. I have accounted for those. Those are state funds. So they all were accounted for in this first line item, state funds. So it increased the amount of state funds we're receiving right now. And then I also then had to allocate for its expenses. So I went through and took a look at what I anticipate to be spent in this fiscal year, so before September 30th. So I did, do some calculations there. And then put that in our expenses. It gave us a little bit new appropriations budget. You'll see that we are bringing in $1,565,000, $65,310. And we are our total expenses is $1,512,116.29. Bringing our ending, the budget balance, so for this year, we have a revenue of $553,193.71, which would bring our closed door funds in theory to somewhere around $278,000. So it's a little different than what I say here. I think this is still a little off because I'm going off of budgets from the past, but we are getting a lot closer to having these numbers be matched.
So my only thought on this would be, right now, we have some state funding that's not grant specific, correct? That was through the appropriations for the specific amount from the COVID funds.
If
Is that correct? So
you
there's.
mean the state funding that we're getting,
Mhm.
it's considered a grant and it's considered
Okay.
a state grant. And
Okay.
so it is included in that state fund number.
Okay. Then the only thing I would say is if they do appropriate funds that are no longer considered grant, that are just like, this is appropriated in perpetuity, more or less, that it might be a good idea to break those apart so we can see the difference, but that was my other question.
Yeah, if I'm allowed to, I have to follow some specific rules with how I do an appropriations. If you saw the worksheet I used to get to this number, they all pull from a very large
Yeah.
worksheet.
Yeah.
And that is diversified. You can, so I can definitely do that. Hopefully MGuard will guide us if we see that we are getting additional funds and there is a place that we need to do this differently. I would hope that would have the guidance there.
The county manual's been updated.
Perfect.
So
we
we
need to
need
vote
a motion
on this
to
appropriation.
vote.
Yes, please.
I make a motion to accept the new appropriations budget as it stands.
Second.
Got her, Ben?
Got it.
Hey,
All right, all those in favor of the new D budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good budget.
okay. HR, fun, HR work. Got a lot of new people. I do need to add a bullet point here, so if you guys could make a motion, I did not add the, environment, the educational program coordinator, which is now Lexi's new position, and her new, work agreement, so it is in her new packet, which is this guy. And I need to add a bullet point if possible, so someone could suggest a motion to add a bullet point.
I make a motion to add to the work agreements, the educational program coordinator work agreement.
Thank you.
Second. Those in favor of adding this motion? Say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Right,
So in your packet, you see, we've hired a new communication specialist. And her name is Christy Winslow. She starts on the 19th, but her work agreement is in here. Christy is slotted to work 25 to 30 hours a week. Right now, we have determined that it sounds like she's gonna work 8 to 2, Monday through Friday. So it should be a really nice schedule and be able to do the tasks that I have at hand. So hers is the first one on here. The second one is Tracy Weatherwax. She is our new soil conservation technician. She is replacing Kyle Hildebrandt. Tracy is, she is here. She started last week. And acclimating really well. Her work schedule is 7:30 to 4 p.m. And she was here Monday through Friday.
No, mixed up.
Yeah, they're not in the best order. And then we have our 4 ecotechs. These are, we have, they're all paid at 15 an hour. They are temporary grant employees, but full-time during this period of time, as long as there's not too many inclement weather days. They do not qualify for benefits. And they started this week. There are 4 of them and all at 15 an hour.
Just temporary summer help, basically.
Till the end of, it runs till the end of October. Some of them, one of them will go back early because she's still in school, but summer help,
Summer now.
summer not. Correct.
so for
Quick
what?
question.
Yes.
So Lexi was kind of like administrative support for you at one point?
When she was hired in as my administrative specialist and served in that role from her time of hire in 2019 until she went on maternity leave in October. We then took the work that she was doing, I distributed it to the staff, and they have been doing the newsletters. Morgan's been writing all the newsletters. Sarah does all the conservation updates. Karen does all the Facebook posts right now. So we did that. We disseminated
Okay.
all the work. We then made a decision that we needed to focus on a communications person, a specialist. So we decided that Lexi's position, rather than being titled an administrative specialist, we wanted it to be a communication specialist, but half of her role, or maybe I shouldn't say half, 2/3 of her will be communications, 1/3 will be support for administration.
Okay,
So I have that all kind of listed out.
I didn't want you to lose that,
No,
right?
I desperately need it, which is why some of this disorganization is what you're seeing. And so, that's Lexi. We then have 2 forest pest technicians that are starting next Monday. These guys will work for the H3.
No, it's 2, but it changed. One is starting Monday, one's starting the 24th.
Okay. So I have 2 of them starting at this month. They will be on the HWA crew. So Hemlock crew, we will have 5 Hemlock crew members, which is what we usually try to have, 5 or 6. So it's all budgeted for, grants cover it. They're at $17.50 beginning, and they do qualify for all the benefits. So they have that package as well. All of those are in here. I know it gets messy. Ask me questions.
Any specific reason for the turnover? Just they're moving on, or?
Yeah, so, well, Kyle's turnover was, his fiance just finished her residency, so she is a doctor. And she got a position in Duluth, Minnesota, which is where they're from, and Kyle is following her. So he is going,
Isn't Alex Svoboda off to Minnesota or somewhere like that too? or
just Kyle.
Just Kyle,
Mhm.
okay.
Ales is here, he's not going where he bought it. He rented an apartment here, he's
Okay.
not going anywhere.
Oh, I thought I got it mixed up.
I would say typically no one's really leaving because they're unhappy. That's not what I hear. Our forest pest techs, it's one of those jobs, the forest pest job is super, super physical. And it's not often likely that people last much more than 2 years in that parole, although sometimes they do. So it's not unheard of for people to move on and that we need new people. So it's kind of, some of it made sense. But it wasn't for anything that was unhappy.
It's an entry level position. You
Yeah.
expect it to be a
Stepping stone, yep.
Yeah. Communication specialist was unique because Lexi moved on, I needed to fill a position. So I would say that.
So
that
what's
answers
Lexi
it.
going?
Lexi is a communications
Oh, okay,
person,
she was just moving on.
She's the
Yeah.
educational.
education program.
Yeah.
So she is now at 25 hours a week. I did actually put her schedule here so you guys can take a look at it. And, things are going nice and smooth there. And she is in charge of raindrop rescue, both our tree and our native plant sales and workshops. So that is her role.
Any more questions on the work agreements?
I just say Lexi and Christie are the only ones that are actually coming out of our funds from the district. Everybody else is
And the
covered.
grant
by
funding.
For the most part, although Lexi's, I pay half of her funds out of the groundwater funding. Because it meets a deliverable that I set with the county on our residential focus for groundwater, for the groundwater initiative. So the Raindrop Rescue Program is all about water recycling and so that funding can come, half of her funding can then come out of that piece. So it's not district funding, only half of her pay is district funding. And if I take a look at it now and I think about, as long as we're tree sale and plant sale are being productive, I think it's kind of a no-brainer.
Is there any problem with lumping these all together? Do we need to vote on them individually?
Can we make a motion? How does that work?
Make a motion to accept the work
accept the work
To
agreement.
accept the,
Written.
That's my question. Do we want to vote on them all together as one, or do we need to break them out individually?
I think we should,
What is your pleasure?
I would prefer to vote on them all together.
All right, so I need a motion to specify that.
I would like to make a motion to accept all the work agreements, including the educational program coordinator as presented.
Is there support?
Or-
All those in favor? Say aye. Opposed? May be heard.
You guys said.
So the next
You can keep working.
piece on our thing, board packets. So this is kind of a group thing. I want to take some, trying to streamline our communication a little bit as you guys, I know everybody gets lost in what I send them. It's hard to follow. I've heard things, like, oh, I'd love to see it this way, or can you put this on your board report, or. So I'm going to utilize this. I have several questions for you all. I'm going to take I'm taking your feedback. And then I'm gonna bring it back to the staff to workshop what you guys are suggesting and to come up with a streamlined communication plan so that I am giving you information the way you want to see it. So I'm gonna start off with our agendas. If you take a look at your agenda right now, the things that the one piece that I would love to add is for that executive director update right after the program highlight. I think that would be important, and I think I really do need to add it. Otherwise, our agendas have kind of I've kind of started to put them in these categories where I have financials, I have HR, right now I don't have any board governance, but next month we will. We'll have board governance. We'll have events and outreach that might need to be talked about, grants, your guys' updates, and then correspondence, PA 116, and then we adjourn. So my first question is to you, what do you like about our agenda? And then what would you like to see changed? And I'm just going to take your feedback and see if there's anything that you'd like me to do a little differently.
Let's do it this way. Rivka, you want any changes?
I agree with adding the ED report, and I think we should also specifically add changes or additions to the agenda. Right now, it's kind of lumped in with review and approval of the minutes, but I feel like that causes confusion every meeting.
That's great.
Good?
Yep.
I'm fine with them changes. Doug?
I'm good.
Yeah. Tim?
Good.
The agenda, I think, is good.
Okay, so we're good on the agenda. Okay, next one was my monthly communication. So I'm sending out emails with you guys monthly. And I'm trying to work on making the stuff I send you have some rhyme or reason, because I know I send you a lot. So I've attempted to use my email as kind of just a content cover page. So it tells you what's included in your packet and where it is. And then I have the attachments that then each one would be in there and you can see, okay, in the HR packet, I can see these are the pieces she has in the HR packet. And then you pull up the HR packet, you can refer to my email if you need to and review the HR packet. So I've done that in the last 3 months. What's working, what's not working with this? Does not go around?
Yep.
So this is something I already said in the HR committee meeting, but I'll repeat it for everyone. It's just that I think having a structured format for the staff reports would be helpful, like something that's similar between all staff reports and it's almost like a fill in the blank for them.
And that's next. So
Okay.
we're gonna talk about staff
That's separate.
reports. Yep.
Okay. Yep, then I think the packets are great.
Other comments on how,
You know,
how do you digest this?
I'm a talk guy, so it all confuses me, so I'm good. Cause you ain't theoretically, my little mind, you can't make it.
I can't
You
make
can't
it
put it in
fit.
a better or worse package, so I'm neutral on it, so
Okay,
I'm good.
but you're getting what you need.
Yes, oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the information's all there.
What do you like? What do you don't like?
Okay. We'll talk about staff reports later.
That's
Yeah.
next. So just,
Okay.
I'm just talking
So
about email.
this probably is more for Callie and Tim because Rivka and I talk about a lot of stuff that goes into them reports.
Yeah.
So I already know about it. I would just like a timeline. I talked to you about that before.
Mm.
Pick a day towards our meeting and drop it all on us at one time.
That
Now
would be
you
helpful.
can, not this once a week, twice a week. Cause we miss stuff or you change things or something doesn't need to be. You can decide towards the end of the month, I think.
I like that.
I'll support that. You know me, I'm not an email person, so my question to you is how much feedback are you looking for monthly?
Not really any,
Not really, you just want us to
unless you
get-
have it. I mean, unless you want to say, hey, Megan, did you forget this? Or Megan, I mean, other than that, but I'm not really looking for, I want to make sure you're digesting it. I want to
Yeah.
make sure I'm giving you
I
what you
try to
need.
do that the night before, so it's fresh on Monday night. I sit down and I take a couple hours and I
Mhm.
read your packets. So I'm
Perfect.
with Doug.
You're
Don't
good.
send me 5 times a month, just,
And have a
I don't
date.
like that having to go back and look through the
Yeah, 'cause then-
attachments of how
oh,
many.
let's see, what was I?
Then everybody puts a comment
Mhm.
into them, but it turns out,
Not saying you
Yeah.
can't. If
Yeah,
like somebody
no, I-
emails you something
Well,
that
like
you'd
I
like
messed
to
up
share
this
with
last
us, that's,
Right, I had to
that's
fix
oh, it's gonna happen, but just, yeah, try to cut down on that
Hundred
regenerative.
percent.
stuff that's
Yeah.
gonna be in the board report, plunk us at one time.
My recommendation is where I have trouble is when you have all the pages to different things all together. You probably scan them in or put them all into a PDF. If I need to look at something specific, I struggle to scroll through and pull out the important information. So I think my biggest thing is that rather than giving us a couple of
Like, here's-
PDFs that
yeah.
are long, right? Like your description in the email is good.
But it's still hard to get through those PDFs.
Right, so like. If I'm gonna try to think of an example, like sometimes maybe all the financial information and maybe HR information is together all in one document, so then I'm like. Scrolling through, trying to just scan it to see what's important. And so for me, it's better if you have one document that is the
Did
financial.
you like that this time around, right? And I've done it the last 3 times. You've had.
It was a little bit better, but like,
They have the HR, they have the finance, we have the outreach,
yeah,
and then I have the agenda in the minute. So I'm
right,
trying, and I did that the last 3 months.
okay.
Maybe
look
not
at
Um,
a separate
make more
folder.
work for you, but what if we just did a table of
Emails.
contents with page numbers on them?
Like
I mean-
PDF packet, where you can open the PDF and then in the PDF there's. It's clickable to.
That's a good point.
Kind of idea. Cause like they
one
do that
thing
for
I
the
was-
county commission packets that are really lengthy, but you can click on the agenda. And it takes you directly to that piece. I think that might be helpful. Then it would be all one document, but it's a navigable document.
That's one, or like for me, it would be best to like. Have the HR report separate and the work agreement separate. So that I know. like, for example, I was just kind of going through some of this here and like. Just. and
It's a
be-
lot of attachments, like I would be sending like
Mhm.
20 attachments if I did that.
Well, and that's where my thought process was going, is like, maybe what we should need to be doing is a little slightly different, where we're housing these things in a Google Drive or a folder. So that when you have all the information in there. And like, for example, like when you made an amendment to the agenda, because I thought it was the April minutes, right? You can just go into the folder, update the document without having to send out numerous emails. And so in that respect, it might be
But
a
Google
little,
is a pain, sorry.
Yeah, I do it with
You
their
don't
HR stuff
know
and
what
it's
much
healthy.
problem I have.
And I'm gonna guess,
because
Matt,
I
you're
have
not gonna be
other
having
accounts and they
Google
all
Drive
try-
any day soon.
If I don't do it, it just does it itself. I got
right,
her agenda
Well,
filling up
I'm
on my,
talking to somebody.
other people that are work stuff
But I think
all the time.
it's not a bad thought. I do like the PDF content click, which might help with that.
yeah, like I like that. I don't know how,
You can just stack them
cumbersome
all up
that
and send them
would
over
be.
at one time.
You
20
didn't, you guys
attachments
didn't
at
like
one
that.
time. Huh?
You guys never, oh, you want all the attachments?
I mean,
in
it
there?
doesn't bother me, like, it does Kelly, that she wants them all separate, you can
It's-
just stack
it's-
them all.
It's only
Sorry.
because I struggle to read
Digest it.
through all the material.
Well,
and
sometimes a lot
focus
of
on it.
material to read,
Mhm.
and sometimes,
So
Yeah,
maybe
you're
more
good.
separation in.
Yeah, and then
grouping.
can
sometimes
you
things.
highlight them,
repeat,
the ones
too.
that this has to be read, and this should be read, and this may be read?
John, read all of
But
it.
it
and-
is, yes.
But like, this is a revisit, you know what I'm saying?
No matter
And
how
I'll like
she does
look
it,
and I'll be
it's
like, oh,
gonna
this
be
is
the same
something we
way.
had last month, you know, I'm gonna scan past
You want me
that.
to write the cliff notes?
You know what I'm saying? It's
Okay.
it's just a triage of
Yes, you know, that's what I wanted.
attention and for me,
Sure.
Okay.
so that's
That's
how.
right.
It's right, it
Backed up
takes
by
me an
one.
hour to get through all
Um,
Well, like I said,
yeah,
there's-
no, it was a little
there's
bit
some
better
weeks
because
there's a lot of
then I
reading.
knew which packet
and I do my
had
best
which
without-
in it,
Oh, exactly,
Yeah, there's always so much.
you know, instead of
That
like,
you can
oh,
cut,
it was
yeah.
buried, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
what I'm
like,
trying to- that's why I was trying to give that explanation in here, and this takes me a long time, so just do know that
Definitely.
this is not quick.
yeah,
Um,
and that's the
So like,
thing,
I
that's
wanna
very
make,
labor.
but I give you all the information here, like I do,
There's a lot of work.
but I can put it in more attachments. You guys will want more attachments rather than 4 basics.
So what is the consensus though? Is more attachments better or is a table of contents that's clickable better? Because to me, having it all in one place and being able to say, I want to look at the work agreements, click and have it go directly to the work agreements.
But then I get lost,
Is
I go
easy.
right in order.
But then as far as being able to reference back, you can go in order, but then you have the option if you're like, oh, I read this and I have more, I want to look at that again.
Mhm.
You don't have to read through the whole thing. You can just. click on
Whatever. I'm not fussy.
Do you read it on the computer or do you print it?
I sit right behind the computer, I just tell them, I
Just
shut
read
the
it.
doors, I tune out for an hour or two, I said, I got to tune up for tomorrow night.
That's all good information. I will, I'll workshop on this and see what's reasonable and what I can make happen.
And some of it I skim read, that's why I would like a color code.
Yeah,
Red,
what's immediate?
Vital.
vital.
This,
Would you like the
Today.
code letters bigger too?
Code red.
Right, 'cause I
Like
send you all the
print.
grant agreements, but you don't have to read all the grant agreements. I mean, not
Do you
thoroughly.
need any more,
I think
do
for
you need
me,
any
it's
more
like,
comments from us?
If you have comments, yeah.
like if there's policies and there's more than one policy that's up for review, I might read the
Right.
first 2 and focus on those and then miss something like, like Rivka and I were talking about that today. I was like, oh, I didn't catch that particular policy, it was kind of buried and so, anyway, that's
Okay.
all I have to.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, you
I
guys
have
give
to
me
add.
some good stuff, so I'll workshop it and see if there's a better solution to get you information.
Thank you.
Board reports. So, I did bring a packet, so you guys can take a look at these, because I do want you to consider the feedback. Right, what a waste of printing, but I had to do it. That's all our board reports. They're all there.
Cool.
The.
Board reports.
The reports too.
Yeah, so these are our staff reports. What I wanna know is what is working for you? What about our staff reports do you
Did I
like?
get 2 of them?
And then I wanted to know what you'd like to see added. Now, all of your suggestions are not gonna be workable or doable. Having a one size fits all template is probably not realistic.
Mhm.
But what is realistic is to make sure that I can get you the information you need. I plan to take this back to the staff and workshop it, so then we can workshop their individual reports, so they have more consistency. And get you what you need. Yes,
May
sir.
I go first?
Yes, you may.
I think I brought it up before, and I'm not saying I know how to do this, just This to me is a very condensed book report.
Mhm, mhm.
Does it help me a lot? Not really.
Mhm.
I don't know what they do on a daily basis.
Mhm.
I don't need to know what they do on a daily basis. But what good is this telling me? That they're working, I know that.
Mhm.
So
So you don't want board reports?
what good's it do me? I have to trust you as the director that you're not sitting here eating donuts and making up a stuff. I mean, right?
Yeah, okay,
Copy.
that's fair. So you vote no board reports.
I'm, there's no value to me.
Okay.
I trust that it's happening.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Next.
Can I go?
Go for it.
Okay. I would like,
Okay.
I'm a,
Give me an example
don't-
if you haven't. if you
all right,
don't
I'm
wanna-
gonna give you an example. All right. My thing is, I wanna know the people and what jobs they do and who are there.
So maybe like a.
I know Ben Jordan,
But maybe like a.
but he
snapshot.
doesn't have the programs that he's working on, right up listed.
Mhm.
Let's keep going.
Okay, I like that.
Such
Sarah
as
Bowman.
I'm working on
Sarah
this,
Bowman,
That's- I'm working- wait a
watershed
minute.
technician.
let me get you straight, so. You wanna know what grants he's working on, or?
It would
if
be
I
just
need-
nice to know,
A snapshot of
Like-
what their role is.
yes,
That can be just steady every time.
Just
It doesn't have to change. You
not,
just know the
don't
role.
have to change at all.
Yeah, like Sarah Bowman's got a really good
Yeah.
example here where she's got crockery, RCPP.
Mhm.
No, I'm not saying when you read it, if you look
He
at
wants
their
it, like,
job,
right at
their
top.
name title.
Ah,
It's
okay.
like Kyle Hildgren, nothing under his.
Mhm.
But Sarah,
Right, and then you have to kind of
But that's
remember.
because
there's
Kyle
some-
works on one
some
grant.
do.
Sarah works on 5.
So you
So-
want a name, our title, and maybe a list of the programs.
Yeah.
like, Corinne, me, you can't miss that,
Mhm.
so.
Well,
Like
and I,
Morgan, she produce safety technician.
Mhm.
If
So you
we
wanna,
wanna learn who you guys are,
okay, so maybe a snippet, a consistent bio with what funding, where these positions are funded from.
yeah, that's
Okay.
my thing, and they don't have to, I know when I used to work in the factory. You had to write down every day what you did, and it was cut and paste, and you just did the same things, and you cheated and moved things around. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm with Tim, you're their boss.
They're probably Stein days.
I'm not saying I don't
You
wanna
get
see a
the same thing,
report.
Just ditto the next week.
I don't
or the
want,
next
you
month.
know, I will take the time to read the reports, cause I respect what they're doing.
Yeah, I do too, but
I
it says
just-
finished up
I
reporting
don't
and
think you
submitted.
need to go the
Yeah.
day by day
What does that mean?
to make it easier for them. Like
You-
some of them, I don't know if they are, yeah, they got dates on these, they don't have to do that.
Yeah.
They do that for you, not for me.
well, and I think to Doug's point, that, I think that kind of addresses part of what I'm saying as far as the consistency of reports. It's not even that they have to all be reporting on the same thing, but even like, Sharcy's report looks very different.
Oh,
from a
they're all different.
Formatting standpoint, right, than Ben's. So if
Yeah.
like, the names are in different places, the dates are in different places, so if it's just like creating a standard template, like
Yeah.
Doug said, where it's got this information up here. Bullet, and I agree too, we don't really care what week you did, what, if that's helpful for you guys for some reason, great. But the big high level picture of this was what was accomplished. To me, the other thing that I don't have a good sense of from reading this is how it ties into our KPIs for each role. So like, key,
Performance.
performance, initiatives. So like, if the goal for HWA, for example, is like treating X number of trees, that's a key performance indicator that we want to, key performance indicator.
Are we meeting it,
That-
exceeding it, or
Exactly.
failing?
Exactly. So, if it's not really related to a key performance indicator, it's not really that important to see on a report,
No, we
right?
don't know what it means.
Because that gives us those things that we know,
How
are
do
we
I-
accomplishing what we need to for the grants? Are we exceeding what we need to for the grants? Are there areas like of particular success, right, that we can be shining a light on to be like, we well and above went beyond what we were trying to do. Those are things that help us apply for grants in the future. Like that makes your jobs easier long-term. That's not even just for us, that's for you guys. When you're writing grants, it makes it a lot easier to pull out those things that are like, this is why we are a super successful team that should have more money.
So how do I come up with key performance indicators? especially for people like myself.
Yeah, so, I mean.
Is
You're
there,
not
is there a
doing it.
benchmark
Right.
across Michigan? On gross sales? or-
I would
I don't-
say like, what are the grant minimum qualifications would be a good starting point, right? Are there minimum qualifications we have to meet? That maybe is something to consider. And I don't wanna overcomplicate it, I'm not saying like make up KPIs for every single role, but I'm saying those are, if there's a thing that is tied directly to the outcome for what the role is, we should have some idea of that. Obviously, we have work agreements, we have job titles, we have
Position
some idea of
descriptions.
what we hired people for, so are they accomplishing the job that they were hired to do?
This sort of ties in a way where perhaps we need to think about that piece in our strategic planning, because there's a lot going on here. And so like for me, what I wanna see is that I'm kind of agree with Tim, like, I know you've done payroll, I know you know what I'm saying, paid the grants, and what I wanna see is some of these programmatic, bringing out the programmatic elements that you don't get to see in the report. So like I see a lot of outputs versus outcomes,
Hmm.
right? So like, which outputs are great, they're important. But I want to know if some particular landowner was extremely ecstatic about what the funding they received, or if it had an impact. Another thing that I'm interested in seeing more of is what is on your radar for the future? Like the strategic element, yeah. Those are the things that I would like to see more of. And it's showing and maybe not telling. And she's right, if you put them in here, then your communications person who probably should read these and meet with the staff regularly to find out what they're doing, can pull out, oh, this landowner over here was really super geeked about this, and I'm gonna follow up and do a newsletter story about them. So, it's a lot of like training the staff a little bit to kind of recognize the story in what they're doing and showing it in the report. So I don't think there's an easy fix to that.
Maybe
but-
part of it is just simplifying it, because what I'm hearing you saying is, we don't need all this, well, from everybody really, we don't need this granular level of detail. Like, an outline could be something as simple as the program forward, their name, what grants they're working on, their title, etc. And then just like wins, and have them say like 4 bullet points of, here's the things that I'm really proud of this month, that I think went really well, that I'm excited about. Needs, here's things that I need, because that's the other piece, is pulling out how we can serve as a board. What gaps do employees have as far as what is making their job more difficult? What is making their day-to-day hard? Do they have equipment needs? Do they
We
have
need another
staffing
truck,
needs?
we heard that.
Exactly, right? Like, that stuff is not necessarily getting brought to our attention, and that's the main thing that we need to know about, is how can we help you as the staff succeed? So it's not like, because I hear what you're saying, everybody's doing a different role, but if we have just something that's very simple and straightforward, that is gonna be less time intensive to prepare these reports, it's gonna be 1 page, it's gonna be really obvious what we can be bragging about to people, and what we as the board need to help you guys with to be successful.
We do like to brag.
Yeah.
So my thoughts kind of along the lines of like, my board report now is week by week, bullets of kind of what I did that week. What if instead of that, it's kind of like what you're describing, bullets of my accomplishments for that month, things I got done.
I wanna know how many cover crop acres, I wanna know how many septic tanks you put in, I want,
Yeah,
that,
and
I don't
the
need to
tough part
know
is too,
what you did at
there are
last.
some entire months where it's setup work for that stuff, so it's not really any, this clear, like, hey, I implemented this many acres or this, whatever, but there are still accomplishments and there's bullets I can write to that effect, I met with 8 landowners and I talked about this and that, so
Mhm.
I know just from an employee's perspective, that would be easier for me to write than trying to go back and let's see exactly what I did on that week.
Right, that's where you just write something in there, so I'm saying you don't have to do that.
Yeah, like Sharcy has some good things here, like she wrote in here that, she had 7 equip applications. And, right, and I would love to know more, a little bit about that, like, who are those people, and what are they gonna do? And
But she's.
we're not allowed to do that? Okay. Um. That's a thing to get around, but anyway, just, you know, more stories about the success of what's going on, so.
Tim,
You can-
you had a question?
Just a comment.
Comment.
All the, what you said is good. What I like, I'm an efficiency guy. I would like to see or read or find out. I applied for this grant and I've learned how to do this quicker, better, get more jobs done with the same kind of money. I put in 2 bids to 2 different contractors. We got the waterway put in for half the amount of what we normally do. That's kind of, that excites me. I don't know if it excites anybody else. That
We
excites
saved
me.
money.
Saving money.
Saving money.
That would-
How can we do it faster, better,
All right, my
quicker,
2 cents on
and
it.
more efficient?
As far as, I think they need to be shorter and simpler, like everybody's saying. You know, the whole blah, blah, blah thing, I just need to know highlights. And someone said it here earlier, as far as, I wanna know what their, you know, what they consider their win was every month.
Mhm.
I'll grill them when they get up here to, you know, tonight, today we could ask Natalie about all the intricacies of her job and her programs. You know, and we have that chance, you know, when they get in front of the board, we can kind of catch up, so to speak, on their,
Mhm.
you know, but no, shorter, simpler. Like I say, I don't wanna say they're boring, but you know, there's a lot of information in there that's,
Okay.
it's just filler.
Redundant.
Yeah.
And
redundant.
hopefully the goal is it makes it easier for you and the staff too.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna take all this feedback back. We have already talked about it at our staff meeting. And I thought we were gonna be doing this, so we'll take this back, we will workshop it and try to come up with something that makes sense, and you guys can let us know how things are moving in a few months. Does that?
What
work
happened
for
to
all
the
of you?
owl?
It's a.
What's on?
He's still going.
Oh,
Do you want it up there? I can put it up there.
Oh,
Yeah, all I
Sure.
wanted to look.
Oh,
at
that's
my
fine. I
phone.
just wondered if it was working or not working.
Black screens and you guys. so
Yeah,
I can
Not
put it-
exciting.
No problem.
All right, what do we got going next? Megan, we on to outreach? We
No,
vote
the
for that
communicate,
one.
I'm gonna pass this to Rivka. We had a
yeah.
suggested motion from our HR committee, and we actually missed it last month, so Rivka is going to.
Yeah.
talk
It was supposed
about
to
it.
be on the meeting
It's on the front of your HR report.
last month, but basically trying to address better record keeping as well as, the staff knowing how to prioritize their work and time. So when they're getting a lot of different instructions from Megan, giving them to-dos, us as the board giving them to-dos, that can be confusing. So basically that internally as a board, that we will communicate and really utilize our committees effectively. So let's say Tim has something that he wants brought up in regards to finance or HR or whatever the field may be. We've got those descriptions in our pack, like in our bylaws about what committee handles what. That Tim would say, hey Doug, you're on the HR committee. I have a question about this work agreement or this task. Can we get that resolved? And that would happen in the committee meetings and then be part of our committee reports and or would be passed to Megan as appropriate. Just to streamline communication, make it clear what's happening, why and how and by whom and
It should
so
go
on
to
and so
both
forth.
committee people.
yeah. Well, so I do, have
Oh,
a-
wait a minute, I guess,
yeah,
I don't understand.
I need to
So
go
how's
back.
it
You
happening
guys wanna
now?
talk?
so right now, there's not really a structure. So if Callie has a question, Tim has a question, I have a question. It's like kind of up to everybody's individual discretion. Well, I know Sarah, so I'm just gonna message Sarah.
You know.
Or
Yeah,
you-
you message Sarah's boss. And then
Right,
she-
or you might message Megan. So what we're,
No, I'm
the-
saying, so,
that is not a structure that currently exists though. So that's
well,
why
that's what I'm
the
saying,
HR
that's
committee.
the way it's,
Right, but we also don't want Megan overloaded as well, like the committee structure exists. To help support what she's doing, so it's basically saying, how can we better utilize our committees? To streamline communication so that Megan's not getting. A random message about this, that, or the other thing. Sharcy's not getting a random message about this, that, or the other thing that
We're
is,
5 board members working
Exactly.
as one.
yes, trying to just
Well, that's what I'm
coordinate
saying,
us
so
working collectively
we're
together.
we're going straight to. The employee, the worker?
No,
No.
No, I'm saying that's the way it's done now, because I think
Yes.
that's foreign as,
In a lot of cases, yes.
well, that's,
But
I'm
the,
sorry, that's wrong. I mean,
Yeah, that's gonna
that's,
happen.
that's
well, that's
never,
why that's why we're suggesting this policy.
we need a policy for that? I mean,
We've asked for that.
Yeah,
Last
this,
time.
this was on the agenda
wow,
last time.
all right, I
We
just,
did
I just have never, in all my board years, went to. There's an advisor, there's a office
chain of
manager,
command.
there's, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so I guess
Well,
I'm,
and that's why, that's again, this is trying to clarify that chain of command and to better utilize the committee structure.
all right.
And as we add more committees in the future, that will just expand, but then it makes clear who should be the person to reach out to for different.
Yeah,
things.
then, like, if I have a question, I can direct it to Rivka, she can
Right.
answer it rather than bugging Megan
Right.
or somebody else about it, she can dig for that. and-
Exactly. If it's HR related, there's a good likelihood that Doug or I can answer that question because it's already come up in the HR committee. Now we've saved Megan time. It's not like bouncing around in emails. It's just, yes, here's your answer.
It's better for
Right.
people on the committee get.
Yeah.
Copied or whatever, so they both know.
Yeah.
Right,
Yep.
I agree with that because. Not picking on Rivka, but if she has a question about HR and you're making a decision without him and without her.
And well, and to be clear, nobody is
that would be
making a
confusing.
decision.
Made,
There's
yeah.
like, decisions are still made as a board, like all of the same rules apply. To, as far as Open Meetings Act and everything along those lines. It's more so, if she has a question. I can either say, oh yeah, this is where you find that information, this is already a known answered question. Or can
Or
then
we'll talk
bounce it to
about
Megan,
Or we'll
or we can bring it into our committee meeting, cause we, like, the HR committee has regular meetings, finance has regular meetings.
Yep.
That way, we're not scheduling additional meetings.
Yeah,
like, and hopefully helping everybody utilize their time,
That
both
help
on the
you, Megan?
committees and.
Yeah.
So,
It just, it
Takes
makes
us
it
to-
easier. And then, we don't have board members that are like, reaching out to staff and then staff's not sure what.
Yeah.
how they
what to
should-
do,
how to handle
Staff
it.
should not be
Yeah,
put in that
separation.
position,
Right.
exactly.
And
Another
so-
separation.
Yeah, and so like, and then on top of it, yeah, a lot of it can be handled through the committee. It doesn't really
Mhm.
even have to come to me. And then they could
Mhm.
say, hey, Megan, this has come up and we need to, we
Mhm.
need to figure this out.
and or if it's something that hasn't been addressed or dealt with, now the committee knows to put it as a motion in our, for the whole board.
Yeah.
So the board can vote on it, so we can collectively make a decision together, so it's not any one individual person, like a lot of this is in response to some of Kelly's concerns about. Like how are decisions being made, what's happening, like we want everything to be transparent, open. Everyone to feel like they can have their concerns addressed, but also not. Overburden anyone's time or have suddenly something randomly thrown at somebody that they have to deal with and just creating a procedure for it, so. This is the HR committee suggested motion for,
I would
that.
just, I think I talked to you about it, as I think that there needs to be kind of like a small guideline on following up or response back.
Mhm.
Cause, right now, that's just not. I think the intent is there, of course, it's
Mhm.
just not codified, so.
I don't think there's anything wrong with like a 24-hour follow-up within a business hours.
Mhm.
I think that's what I expect my staff to do. So I wouldn't have any issue with that.
Oh,
as
that's
long as
good.
That works.
At
for you
least something
guys.
to just go back and say we're checking
Mhm.
out or something like that.
Yep.
right,
So do we wanna just add that to the
Unless something's
suggested
exploding,
motion?
that would probably warrant a phone call,
For the
but,
most part, yeah,
okay.
for sure.
Do we wanna add that to the suggested motion?
Do we really need a timeline or can we just see how it goes? So we.
Yeah, I
get the
would
pinch.
say that rather than
Just-
putting a specific timeline, I think just to your point, saying,
In a
that
timely
it will be
manner.
notated or something, that it will be like included in the,
I mean, out of due
Committee record.
respect to any board member, the committee needs to get back to them
yes,
in some way.
yeah,
Might not have an answer,
Agreed.
but acknowledge that.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's been
It's-
heard.
We're
and-
dealing with it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yep.
Yeah,
But we could just say, which will be replied to in a timely manner by the committee or something like that.
okay,
and if it don't work,
change it.
come back to the thing and complain.
So I'm just adding to the suggested motion, which will be replied to in a timely manner and by the committee. Is that the essence of what we're trying to accomplish?
I think so.
Well, the committee or the office. Manager, theoretically, them three or them. A committee or you are gonna produce the answer
Mhm.
to that. Does that still bog you down?
I think the goal is for us as the board to be doing our jobs.
Well, you
right?
would still, like, so you would still have the response, right?
Yes.
But that doesn't mean
Yes.
that it wouldn't then be
Go
addressed at a
through you.
committee meeting and that we need to find solutions for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I
So-
think Megan needs to be, if not CC'd on all of these theoretical questions, so that she don't. I mean.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
just again, I mean, so she needs to be in. the
Well, I mean,
loop,
she's
she would
in any committee.
But as far
meetings, right?
as
Like, there's
her
no committee meetings that
Answering
happen
the
without
question,
her.
no, I mean, we don't wanna, it ain't everything thrown on her plate. But I
Right.
mean, at least she needs to know what the noise is in the background, I mean, type of thing. So
Yeah.
that was.
But I
my-
mean, is that correct? Like, there's no committee meeting that happens that you're not there, right? Correct.
But we would do, like, I'm just gonna do it for instance, say. Next week, we're not having a committee meeting for a while. If
Right.
Callie writes something to the committee,
Mm-hmm.
we would chat a little bit.
Right.
Give it to Megan,
Right.
if it concerned something she was
Yeah.
doing.
Yep.
So you wouldn't be waiting a month.
Right.
Right, yeah, and I don't think I've ever asked for anything that needs to be immediate, you know what I'm saying,
Mhm.
unless, you know what I'm saying, so. Unless, and I think that if something like that ever came up, like, oh,
Mhm.
something's on fire, urgent.
Yeah.
Semicolon, you
Right.
know what I mean?
And that would be doable too. I mean, if it was like.
Yeah, cause I
Right
can
on.
see how like. Little things like, oh, Rivka and I have clarified things that were in previous packets, and I'm like, where was this information, and
Right.
you know what I'm saying, and
It's in
like.
this attachment.
And you answer it and then
Right.
doesn't have to
Exactly.
come back and. we don't have
And
to-
then that's not a decision being made. There's nothing being discussed. It's just. Better
A
utilization.
point of
resources.
information, yeah.
All right,
So
you
what
got
is
everything covered there?
what's the motion that we're making, in,
So the suggested motion is that board communication with the staff will go through the appropriate committees. So if any board member wants to share ideas, concerns, or other information, they will send that to the appropriate committee board members for review and escalation, which will be replied to in a timely manner by the committee.
sounds good.
I'll second it.
Ben, you got that?
I'm the first, here, you can copy.
So is this a motion we're voting on tonight?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, that's what
Yep.
we're,
And
I
where
just
is
made
it?
the
Where is
motion.
that on my agenda?
Doug just seconded the motion.
Right here.
Communication improvement,
It's on the HR committee.
Yeah, it's in the HR committee pack.
where is it?
In that pile of papers.
See what I'm talking about?
It's right there.
There's a lot of referencing back,
Yeah, but there's not much I can do about that, you guys.
and then you
Well,
have to
I do-
scroll.
If we have it in one document with page numbers, I do think that will help,
Yeah.
because then you could just be like, it's on
Page
page
10.
45. Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
I will say, when you send out the last piece of the board documents, everything's reading.
Yeah.
I don't wanna go back and. 2 emails back.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
there's nothing
my
on the
HR
agenda
stuff.
that we are voting on this evening.
I think so. I mean,
Show
I
me.
have it here. Communication,
From board to
from board
staff.
to staff.
What is that? So it doesn't say vote on it. It doesn't say what it is. It doesn't say that it's a new policy.
So
It
in
doesn't say
here,
anything
in
about
our,
voting.
correct, well,
That's how we
in
do it,
here,
right?
when I gave you your updates, I did spell it out, so.
Okay, that wasn't on my, and I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't, that's
It does-
why,
the only thing it
that's
doesn't
why
say
I'm
is-
asking the question, where was it on my agenda? I ain't saying you didn't send me the information.
It just doesn't have the vote piece in it. Otherwise, it's there.
Because we wanted to vote on this at the last meeting, and then there was a concern about how it was.
But I think if we're gonna vote on something, it ought to
So-
be on the agenda that we are voting on it. I mean, I just
It
think
is
that would be
intended to be.
more clear as to, and then as we look down the agenda,
So that would be an update to the agenda. Yeah. So are we good to vote on it then?
Yes.
that can probably be reflected in the minutes, is that okay?
what is being reflected?
Because
in
this
the-
is the second reading of this. We had this in the packet for the last meeting, so.
All right, so what is the motion that we're doing?
What she just read off.
Ben, you clear?
Yes, he copied it on
Got it.
from the
Yeah.
notes.
All right, Is there, was there a second?
Yeah.
Doug seconded.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're gonna do a voice vote. Half of them didn't vote, so. So,
Okay,
Rivka, how do you vote, yea or nay?
yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Yes.
Kevin? All right, it passes. So now are we up to outreach?
Yeah.
All right,
So I just listed a few of our large outreach events coming up to give you updates. I had mentioned that our annual meeting is around the corner. I'd like you to, get people in the seats, people you know that have been kind of interested in us, would like to hear more about what we do. Our presentation is gonna be super cool. We have video testimonials from a lot of producers and individuals we've worked with, so it's gonna be a really neat piece. We do have a local beehive that's gonna be there, so it's gonna be kind of fun. Great dinner. It's gonna be a really good educational piece on who the district is. So if you have people that you know have been talking to you, asking about you, who are we, what do we do? This is such a great opportunity for them to learn more about us. And all of our staff will be there. I think it'd be really cool. So, that's my biggest ask from you, is to get people here in the seats and registered.
could I get something I could take to the local paper? Could you do me a blurb as far as? And I will
Press release.
see it get sent to like the Cooper's Observer, or that's really the only thing that's left up that way,
Sure.
just kind of a
The
promotional piece.
editor of the Coopersville Observer has changed, by the way, FYI.
Most of these meetings were always a little tight for room, so.
We're
that
gonna
changed?
we'll be at Hemlock Crossing, and right now I have ordered enough food for 70 individuals. Now, mind you, we're about half of it. So I'm thinking, I'd really love to see 30 or 40 people that are new.
It's the same place we had last year's little thing.
Yes.
Yes, but it'll be set up a little differently. It won't be as congested in that area. I'll have the dinner into the classroom area. I'll have all of the more booths and stuff will be out in the rotunda in the front.
Yep.
Only tables will be in that area, and it's gonna be a sit down, nice catered
good.
dinner. So I did dinner from Lake Effect Kitchen. We're having like a roast beef and some sort of chicken farm. The dinner's nice, so you guys will get fed well, so that's kind of a fun piece. Yeah, and I'm super excited about the presentation. We put a lot of creativity and thought into it. I think it's gonna really hit home. I think we'll have commissioners there. I have met two and invited them personally, and following up with emails on inviting them again. Our water commissioner's coming. We have reached out to Senator Victory. Sarah has reached out to, is it Hillary? Yep, she did that. Huizinga. And those have gone out. So we are really hoping to get some of those type of individuals in the seats. But as well as people, we're looking at all the participants we worked with this year. So we've reached out to, producers that we worked with, say, hey, come check us out, come see what's happening. So we've sent personalized invitations to them this year, a little differently than just that blast, right? So we're all kind of focusing on that personal piece, like if we could each get you can send out 10 invites, personal invites to people that, you have connections with, and we can get 3 people to come. I mean, that's a huge success. So that's the focus I'm taking this year, rather than this big, I'm gonna put it out on all these papers and then hope people sign up. I think people will sign up because I asked them to come, not particularly because I put
So
it.
what do you mean, like producers you work with? Give me an example. Of
Yeah, so
somebody you did,
so if we worked with Meat and we had a producer that got Meat verified,
Okay.
Karen would reach out to them and personally invite them to the annual meeting.
I'm just thinking of Ben's thing, all your cover crap people.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Mhm.
All of
Yeah.
the people, yeah.
I didn't see it, but maybe did J&J get an invite? I didn't see it.
Sarah has been sending them out and
Oh, maybe they're
slowly,
not out yet.
but some of them,
I didn't get.
we didn't double them up. I'll tell you that. If you were already invited as a board member, you wouldn't have been invited.
Well, I got
again.
2 brothers, see, so that's why
Right, okay.
so we're all involved, but
we can definitely make sure that we're not missing anybody. I just had them choose a few too. I didn't say to choose every, so I was like, pick 10,
Okay, no problem.
but yeah.
Just a note, Sarah said that it is on her list to send out a press release to the media specifically this week.
Yeah.
And she
I
will
got it.
send that to the board as well to share.
Yeah, cause what would be great is if you know, if you have a relationship or have been in the Coopersville Observer, that works great, right? To come from you,
I was
so.
gonna say, they get the press releases, but unless you go there and you
Tell
know,
them.
kinda
Okay.
show up on their doorstep, that's my angle on it, and if. It's a great time to do it. And if we can kind of run it in as maybe a service announcement, they do some of them. Types of things, I was hoping
PSAs.
to, and if nothing else, if no one comes, it puts the conservation district in front of their face and it's one more.
Yeah, that's fair.
A random idea, since you were mentioning that is, you know, it'd be great to do something on the radio about our native plant sales.
Radio's expensive and I've had very, very little.
That's-
I mean, like, not paid advertisements. Getting more radio interviews and public service announcements, like having them be read, which is. They still do that,
PSAs
believe
are
it or not.
usually paid still, like your best bet is to get on to shows, but if they have to be shows that are already covering like a particular topic, like I've done a lot of radio interviews and I know how to go about doing that, and if Christy had time, it's something we could definitely.
We did it for like
Throw
our
at
scrap
her,
tire, we did a
but-
radio interview.
Mhm,
We've done it for a few things that already have like something already started.
yeah.
And we do lots of like Wood TV interviews, like
Yeah.
Sisma does, these guys do.
Mhm.
um,
Shelley Irwin, probably.
Yeah, that is
would be
exactly who I was
But-
thinking of.
Mhm.
I've done some radio, it is not the bulk of
Yeah,
media work I've done, but,
I think in the essence
Yeah.
of time, that's probably.
I'll jot it down. I
Okay.
mean,
that
that's
ship
definitely
sailed, or, I mean,
a piece.
moving
Chuck,
on.
what do you got?
Okay, I showed this to Megan. This year is 85 years for us.
Mhm.
This year's for 85 years.
You were
for
there
Michigan
84.
Conservation Day.
Yeah, we are the oldest.
So I sent Megan the stuff.
You and
so
Lester
I
were there
have
for 84 of them?
to- Lester, not me.
Is he that old?
Oh,
Is he? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking like 79, you know, 80, but,
Last year was 90.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's right. He's like super.
But
Oh, she's
Experience.
Great.
I think you could get the news media in on that
Yeah.
one, where they would do
I,
remote from you.
it's
even
been
come
on my
to our meeting.
radar. I
I
can't even
just
get
showed it to
invites
you.
out to commissioners yet, so.
Yeah.
It's on my radar.
But I
I-
was saying,
I
like,
agree.
you don't have to do it, you can pass it down.
Christy
Ah.
can do it.
Christy can do it.
She
when she
has
gets
such
there.
a long list
Sarah
of
over
things
there
to do.
trying to do things.
And Sarah does help a ton.
And we gotta spend
Okay.
half as much time next month on the reports, so.
Is it maybe?
Hey, everybody in Lester's
Streamlining.
favor, he still calls me almost monthly. How'd thing go at the board meeting?
Oh.
When
doubt
he
it.
waved to me the other day.
He still
driving
has, he still
Wow, I
has.
wouldn't
I
have
think you
read
should
them.
call him and invite him to the meeting.
Yep, I would encourage
That,
him.
that actually would have been my,
I'll go
you know,
over
like
there
to call
say,
him and his family and ask them to come back,
Blair,
so.
show
Mhm.
up.
I bet at that.
Cause I need to talk to him about navigable waters anyway. The man wanted something done about it, so
Perfect.
All
we're
right.
gonna try.
Well, He's got time to talk.
So that's.
Are
that's
we,
the
are we
annual
good with
meeting.
annual meeting?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Native plant sale.
And
Oh,
I do need to know if you're attending and if you are bringing a +1. So.
I
two.
will. Attempt to bring my
Two.
daughter. So,
So Callie too? Or more, I mean, if you have more than 2, I mean. Okay. And Rivka?
I will come with a +1, I don't know who it will be. but-
And that's fine. You and your +1
Follow along with me.
are not charged.
so, okay, so,
But if anyone else you want to bring along, then I do encourage you to.
is there a cost?
yeah,
$20 a class for
Okay.
dinner. Dinner
Okay.
actually costs around 25. So I try to
Okay.
keep it really nice and even. So there's a portion that is budgeted through our budget.
I'll,
Are we-
I mean, I'll
Got
pay
any
for
more?
my plate. Right,
You don't have to, I mean, but if you prefer me, you can, but that's not what I'm asking.
yeah,
Yeah, the district has the budget for it. We
okay,
are okay. Yeah, I'm not making the staff pay. I don't think there's any reason for you guys. to
Right,
pay.
that makes sense.
And our awardees don't have to pay, so they are
Our what?
also, our awardees.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're going along, people. Any more on the annual meeting? Native plant sale.
Yeah, so this is just information. Our native plant sale is coming along really well. Right now, we're only pre-ordering, garden kits and beach grass. We've done a little bit of a beach grass push this year. And we've seen some more involvement because of that push. We're hoping to kind of build that piece a little more as we move forward. There is a big market for it, and it's an area that we haven't really given a lot of love to. So I think that is starting and coming. As far as the pre-orders go, there are no individual plant pre-orders like I've done in the past. That's a logistic nightmare. But currently, we have brought in a little over $5,000 of garden kits and beach grass. Now that's just what I brought in. That is not our profit or our revenue. And then our sale will be on Saturday, so I don't mess it up. Our sale is Saturday, the 27th at Hemlock Crossing. And it will be a browse and buy. So all the individual plants will be at the sale. So you can come, you take a look at all them. So that's really when we'll make our proceeds at that piece. Those who ordered pre-orders will then pick them up on that day. So that's from 9 to 3 at Hemlock Crossing. As far as the workshop is scheduled for May 18th at 6:30, also at Hemlock Crossing. We have Erin Hill discussing weed identification and how you can keep weeds out of your garden without removing young natives. So, I'm sorry, Dr. Erin Hill. So that is coming up around the corner. That's my biggest piece to that. Alexi's been working really hard on it. It's going really smoothly, so I'm kind of excited for another successful plant sale.
Do you need help the day of?
Lexi's kind of compiling that right now. I will not, this will be the first year I'm not gonna be involved in it. My son's coming home from the Corps, and he'll be home for about a week, so I'm taking off Thursday through Tuesday. And I'm just not gonna be more or less available unless it's a real fire. So weird.
You got a good staff.
It's gonna be different. I'm always there, so I feel like, oh, wow, it's gonna be, and I love this day. It's way better than trees. So Lexi is she's putting together her needs. She probably will need some volunteers. She probably will need some help, but she hasn't totally ironed all that out. So I don't want to talk to her for her yet, but she knows to reach out to you, and she knows about Black River Kids. She knows that you guys are, available or would listen to the idea of volunteering. So I'll let her take care of that. That's it for native plants and workshop questions. The other ones in here are just kind of our other events that are coming up around the corner. We have a bunch of farmers markets that we're gonna be at. For example, this weekend, Morgan will be at the Grand Haven Farmers Market. Morgan and
What do you do
Haley.
there? Just advertise or do you sell something or what?
Yeah,
What's their purpose?
Yeah, so Haley will be attending with invasive, so she'll have a lot of information on invasive species. And then Morgan is there kind of two-part. One, to be able to connect with local producers because of her program. It's a nice way to have that connection. And then it's just outreach. It's just information to the public that we exist and we're here and to ask questions. We're doing one in the spring and one in the fall. I think the other one is coming up in September. So 2 farmers markets. I think I might be a little off. We did some Earth Day events, one at a bookstore, one here in Grand Haven. We have, we did some ag career boards panels at Careerline Tech Center this last month. Karen spearheaded that, our meat technician. We have our White Oak Initiative coming up this Friday night with our forester at Stearns Creek. Lexi did just finish up the Robinson planting for Raindrop Rescue today, so that was exciting. So there'll be lots of, and then the one I didn't add, we also attend fairs. So we'll be at the Berlin County Fair, probably the Ottawa County Fair, and Sarah kind of spearheads that and gets things set up on that front. And then, of course, in August, we have Cultivating Resilience. And that is at. What's the
Somewhere.
farm?
um,
Lauren,
Thank you.
crops and cattle.
More on crops and cattle.
Where's that?
Zealand area?
Yeah, frankly, there's no name.
Right across the road from that park.
Oh, yeah, Holder. There's a park, starts with T.
So I have a recommendation, since you were talking about. Lexi did a planting of sorts. You know, Ben and his team were out working with the FFA kids. It would be awesome if sometimes those opportunities were open up to some of the board members to attend. I would love to do stuff like that, to see you guys in action. It's just that it does get kind of lost a little bit.
Come to the Cultivating Resilience Day.
Yeah, and then
I did, I
these
came
guys,
last year. Yeah, it was
these-
hotter than hell.
these guys are also here, guys, that, I mean, we send these out every month and quarterly that have all of the events here.
Okay,
and plans, so like,
that goes to my promotions folder, so like, when
then
I
you change the tag, because I don't know that. Yeah.
I have.
I'll help you.
Yeah.
Resources.
That one ain't working.
I know that it would be time consuming for me to continue, you guys do
Yeah.
get it. You
No,
do.
but you-
Okay.
No, I mean, like I say, we are bombarded with them, so I mean, it's,
Yeah.
well, bombarded, we do get them, so.
Mhm.
Yes,
So, and those are important. Pay attention to your conservation updates. Those things you get once a month, those
okay,
that come from typically, it's either comes from Sarah or, and it has come from Alex. It typically,
She
it
just-
will come from our communications person.
right,
It gives you a monthly snapshot of what's happening. And if there's any events, it'll be in there. Same
Okay.
as here.
So that was part of my, are we supposed to respond to them?
Nope, you just read them.
Just read them.
They're just
Okay.
information.
That's what I needed.
Mhm.
And to answer your question, last week I was at an event with Morgan. And it was 50-50. I mean, there were producers there, but mainly for producers were showcasing their product to the public. The public asked for more questions than
Mhm.
per se, producers. And that was very interesting. Our booths were right next to each other, so I mean, we were, bumping
Yeah,
elbows
that's
all night. And like I say, she did a great job in explaining, what her role was as produce safety, and they were like, amazed or, happy that, there's a person out there doing that. So it was a very good PR,
yes,
For,
Lakeland is good.
And a lot of times
for
it's
her
like-
and the conservation district.
it's just like a networking piece with all these things too. You meet people that know
Yeah.
somebody that then bring you that next person that. So, yeah.
One question I have about cultivation.
Across the north side of Hilder Park.
Yeah, right. Mhm. More information will come on that. It's just, I like to make sure it's on your guys' radar.
I appreciate it, because it definitely informed summer travel plans to know that they're coming up.
Yeah.
What is the requirements for that farm to host that day? Do you know?
Willingness and have participated in programs. So like if you participate, we love that to be able to showcase programs that you may have participated in. And then we have right now, and we're trying to figure out some solutions for this because I know that Ottawa County's northern farmers have not been highlighted the way that we have highlighted the southern farmers. And that has been because we do this in conjunction with Allegan. So
Yeah,
then
but
we've
10
talked
years
about
ago,
doing it
10
every
years
other
ago, it was the
year,
opposite way around. We did several of them
northern.
in northern,
Yes.
Chester and
So we talked
Hopeton and
about
such, so.
Going back and forth, so we have every other year, we could kind of like highlight a little bit more northern Ottawa, a little bit more southern Allegan, kind of. The partnership is really valuable because these are really hard events to plan. But we do recognize that there is definitely a piece that falls through the cracks and we can't get to some of the other areas of the county.
So what's in it for that farmer, or why would a farmer want to host that?
Because they want to.
Is he advertising something with it, or is
Yeah.
he showcasing his farm, or what's in it?
He's
for him?
showcasing the practice that he's
Conservation
doing, that he has
Okay.
did or participated in.
Okay.
I mean, if you did a bunch of cover crops, we'd probably be standing in your cover crop type field,
Yeah.
that angle.
Yeah, like we did over at Shady Lane. or whatever.
Shady Lane,
Yeah.
like I say, exactly, all the,
And the more programs you
Conservation.
participate in, the better it is for us.
Oh.
If I can highlight MEEP and I can highlight NRCS and I can highlight something else, I mean, that's even better. Now, of course, doesn't mean everybody's willing or has time or the space, the capacity to
Right.
have that many people. That's also a component. So we take a lot of time in trying to figure out what we're gonna focus on And then who could we possibly,
So do you
Go
put
to.
out flyers to them people, or how do you solicit that?
yeah, so we have committees on this planning. And so we have a planning committee put together specifically for that, and they will reach out to people that the planning committee has come up with that have would like to highlight their, whatever it is they've worked on that year.
Good, I get it.
Quick question about cultivating resilience. Tabling. Who
Mhm.
do you determine who tables?
Mhm.
I had sat on the I'll Grow Public Engagement
Mhm.
Committee and they're looking for other opportunities. I realize that not everything that we do it kind of intersect, you know what I'm saying? Because it's ag versus watershed type stuff, but
We do watershed type stuff, and Ben does go to those forums and tables.
well, what I mean is like
Sorry.
the cultivating resilience is more of a agricultural based
Mhm.
activity.
Mhm.
So is that something that they would be welcome to participate in?
So we have vendors.
Okay.
And our vendor area, consists of partners, and it consists of, and then it consists of vendors that would like to be there. So anyone can be there. There's a fee to table if you're not a, government partner, or not a, like the county doesn't have to pay, or like MSUE doesn't have to pay. If you're not
Over.
Elko, I don't know. I'd have to look at our
Keep
thing.
in mind, though, this location is not in the lower, right?
It is not.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
might be,
And south is in.
It is a
Yes.
Macatawa
yes.
thing. Okay, and that
But that
too,
would-
though, right?
Mhm.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so, but yes, people can table, anyone, seed companies table, and I can't think of them off the top of my head, but yes, you
There's a
can
whole
table.
list, yeah, of vendors that.
And we
the
solicit for
marketing
it.
Committee reaches out to that are ag related companies.
Manzana, our sponsor from last year, you know, you can follow up with them, ask them for $500 instead of 100 and see if they
We have
wanna,
a sponsorship committee that is following up on all of that. There are
Okay.
a lot of people on that, so it is definitely getting covered.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Mhm.
okay, so I'll let I'll Grow know that it is not
And
in the I'll Grow, but that if they want to, they can, and that's it.
Conservation planning.
all right, there's a Char seed.
Okay. I'll come up to
You've been waiting for this moment a long time.
the table. Yeah, I know, you guys are chatty today. All right, so Megan said, before I got here with how she worked things out with Megan is normally we want the conservation district to sign off on all the plans, all the applications that come for federal funding. And waiting for a board meeting kind of can slow things down that are already slow, so I just have Megan sort of review them.
Which was
And
voted
then-
on several years ago with Heather, and we did put this in process several years ago, so this isn't new.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. But we want the board to have the opportunity to see everything that we're going after. So that's what I have today. I have everything that we've worked on, over the past, since I've been here. So normally there won't be this many to look at. I think, you know, just the ones that we finalized over the last couple months are what I'll present, but I don't know how much detail you want to know about all these projects, but just as an overview, we've submitted basically $1.6 million worth of projects. That's through 3 in partnership with Ottawa County that are for our farmland preservation program. So we provide 50% match on all those. And that's comes up to,
Sorry.
Oh, it's the alarm, you gotta be there.
It's your bedtime, ain't it?
it is almost my bedtime.
I know when you're an adult, like midnight just isn't achievable anymore.
No, and when you're pregnant,
No.
you don't stay up very late. Anyway, so that's gonna be 165 acres that we will get permanently preserved through those programs, but I mean, I can pass them around and you can see like who and where they are
I
and,
would love to.
okay.
Can you
So-
email that to us with part of that packet?
If you want another email, I don't know, it's personal information.
Yeah.
Maybe may do that.
You can, but you can take a look and ask questions.
Okay,
But I-
simple, just
You know
tell
they
us what's
have
that.
Right, yeah,
redaction.
so they're all, the locations are on there, the intersections, the township,
Eldon?
Yeah.
Eldon Avenue?
I've got another one.
so those are those three. We have basically, kind of the next category is like our soil health plans, so we're working with crop farmers to do, you know, cover crops, reduce tillage, grass waterways, things like that, that are gonna improve our soil health. Basically comes out to about 470 acres over 5 different projects. So those are,
Yeah, I noticed that in your report. I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's very tangible,
yeah,
you know?
but yeah, can answer any
That's no idea.
questions about like the practices if you're not familiar with what they are. We have, let's see, 2 pasture grazing systems that we worked on this year. Came out to about 350 acres, so we're paying people to seed down pastures, put up fencing, put in livestock watering systems, so instead of just letting the cattle out, you are rotating them on the landscape, giving the land a rest.
So was this pasture before, or was this ag land converted to pasture, or is this woodland converted to pasture, or what is it?
It is typically, bad pasture converted to good
Good
pasture.
pasture, okay.
Pasture that's undermanaged to, you know, a producer that's like, I really want to get on board with rotational grazing. I don't want to just put the animals out there, or it can be a conversion of going from a, annual tillage crop system to a perennial system.
How
So
do you know that continues?
how do I know what continues?
If somebody signs up for rotational grazing, spends all this money, you put the fence in, how do you know he's rotationally grazing, or turned them out last year and said, just here, there they are?
Well, it takes quite a bit of time to go through a plan with us, so we weed out a lot of people that are on the fence, you know, because it's a time commitment to put
Make
this
it
together with us. So they want to be on board with it. But
They got quite a bit of cost into it. I
They
mean, it
do
ain't,
have-
it ain't a total,
Yeah,
total
that's
gimme.
skin in the game.
yeah, 25% cost usually is they're coming to the table with, absolutely. But at the end of the day, we really aren't regulatory. Everything we do is voluntary.
Yep.
Thank God, I don't. have
Isn't
to
there
pay-
a life on most of these practices that you have to
Yes.
theoretically go check it for
Yeah.
3, 6, 8 years type of thing?
Yeah, so like, yeah, I was just trying to say, we're not regulatory, it's all voluntary, but the only time regulations come in are, you know, if you wanted to reapply for our programs and we came out and we're like, dude, we just paid you for whatever and you're
What
not
happened to that?
maintaining it, then you're not eligible for our programs for a period of time, so that's
Okay.
kind of comes in play, but these are the grazing ones. We had a blueberry farm that wanted to put in a bunch of pollinator habitat. So that was a cool project. We're putting in flowering trees and shrubs, flowering cover crops. Instead of having an idle year where they rest the land when they're taking old blueberries out and putting new ones in, we're putting in cover crops in that year so we can try and get his soil health a little bit better. And then different wildflower little prairie areas. So that was a fun one. Then we have 2 dairy farms that we're paying them basically to hire an agronomist to put together a comprehensive nutrient management
Yeah,
plan. So looking at how many animals you have, how much manure you have, what's your land base, do you have the right amount of land to be putting that manure on, and when are you putting it on, not in the middle of the winter, and
Or
all
right
that.
before it rains. That's my personal favorite.
Yeah, so helping people, with all that planning and helping people make the best decisions they can.
So you touch on something very interesting there. I feel like the manure is never ending. And it always is getting spread at like the most inopportune times. I do see violations here and
Oh, Callie, I could take you around the combine. Sorry.
You flush your toilet every day, don't you?
I say it's.
Or you
never
wait
ending.
once a week?
but like if you
I'm just curious.
spread, I don't even know how much manure.
That's exactly what that plan is for.
If I could just get it the opposite, I get 1 tanker load of milk to 3 tanker loads of manure. I just gotta put that around them. You can figure that out, me and you need to talk.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
one
think
other
the
thing we
management
do,
of that
Kelly, is we'll help pay for a waste storage pit. So we want to help farmers be able to, so they don't have to spread during those times.
Right.
So we will pay for them to put in a manure pit, which is, can be a concrete pit or a dry stack pit. So if you have liquid or solid manure,
will put together basically a place that you can hold 6 months. So you don't have to like spread it through the winter or in those times,
The
yeah.
problem with that, Sharcy, is she wants it spread in the winter time because it don't stink. You don't want it spread in the winter time because it runs off.
My
I
preference
want it
has
spread in
nothing
the
to do
winter time
with
because
what's
that's when
best.
it's frozen.
Well, shit stinks.
Yeah,
Don't move to the country.
Oh, oh my
cows were
gosh.
there before we were.
I mean, I take different routes to work because there's some farms I just like, especially when I'm pregnant, I'm like, I've
Oh,
really
that's
gone them out a couple times,
not-
but you know, I mean, it is what it is.
It gets spread around my
You know what it
home,
smells like,
that's
don't you?
the really.
Too much.
So we do the same thing with forest land. We had one person apply, basically they wanted, we're paying for them to hire a forester to come out, inventory their property, tell them what they have. Tell them, you know, come up with a 20-year management plan, give them ideas on how to be better stewards of their land.
I hate to be the negative here, but I had some beautiful cherry trees in my personal lot and I wanted them to move and I called somebody. They said there's no value.
Well, were they all like limmy?
Nope,
They were
beautiful,
straight and nice?
beautiful.
Just 3 though?
Yeah.
Well,
You can bring
I mean,
the
you gotta
equipment.
get, yeah, you gotta.
He,
get the
he said
equipment out.
everybody's going into painted cabinets. He said the stained cabinets are out of vogue and no value.
No one cares. Yeah,
White Oak's the only thing worth any money right now.
You know, just weird point here in terms of forest management, you can actually get an exemption on your property taxes if you own forest land and have a management plan in place.
qualified forest program.
Yeah,
How much land you got on for that one?
that's an
20 acres.
interesting.
20 acres. and there's
Okay.
Minimum stocking rates, and it can't be your primary residence. It's for, you know, if you don't have the homestead tax exemption.
Right,
Talk to your
right,
forester.
just, that came up at our board of review, so, yeah.
So those were all funded. All
Okay.
those projects we got in. The last 3 I wanna talk about, so we submitted one
Can I
point
ask
six.
one more question?
Yeah,
On an average, what size farmer are we dealing with here?
all different types. So we.
Big, little, medium,
Big CAFO dairies.
Okay.
To small, I wanna start and I have 5 cows and I want to, you know, do better. To
Okay.
20 acres.
perfect,
We service everyone equally, so.
perfect, thank you.
So we were able to get $1.1 million awarded this year for, our projects. And came out to right around 2,000 acres of farmland, and the only 3 projects that we didn't get in, and it has to deal with our ranking process, you know, it's a competitive program. More people apply than we have money. The 3 that ranked lowest this year were ag chemical storage buildings. So I worked with our engineers on our staff to help me figure out how much pesticides, fertilizers you need per year, how big of a building you need to store it in. So you're not, you know, loading your tank up right next to a stream. You're in a building where if there was a spill, it's gonna be contained. Those 3 did not rank high enough, and it was really hard to get them funded throughout the state, and I guess the past few years, they've been really hard to fund, so we're trying to figure out, what we can do. You can add practices to your project to help you rank a little higher, so a chemical building,
It
That's
isn't
all they're
sexy, it's
doing.
cover crop.
well, it's not. If
We
you're
haven't had
doing-
any big spills lately, so that ain't on their radar. Theoretically, I mean, we put in a lot of spray buildings over the last 20-25 years.
Yeah, there's.
Right.
20 years ago, I mean, everybody was putting in a spray building. Well, now we don't have any of the accidents anymore, so
Right,
it's a,
yeah, so,
it comes in and out of fashion.
exactly,
Rotational grazing, everything, cover crops. So,
so.
good job. 2,000 acres,
Thanks,
yeah,
thank
million
you
and a half
to the
ain't bad.
Conservation District, because I could never do this on my own. Kyle was a huge help. Katie, who we share with Kent County. Basically, the 3 of us were the 3 planners on. Alex and Sarah have some time in their learning planning, so they helped do a few. Yeah, I'm very happy for the partnership and,
One more quick question, Sharcy.
Yeah.
You just said that 2,000 acres, $1 million, at $5,000 an acre. What was the big money drain? The preservation?
the preservation is huge
That's the
because.
big money drain.
Yeah, so basically, we're paying to compete against development prices, right? So
Yep.
we're purchasing the development rights and we're coming in at 50% of that, so. It was. 405, yeah, I mean, it was half of the money that we got in. just under half. And then the other one was, one of the grazing systems. It's a dairy farm that is doing grass fed. And so there's huge lengths of pipe, buried pipe, so he can get the cattle out. Basically, they have a different pasture every day, twice a day. They go to a different pasture. And then trails and walkways, basically gravel, and concrete trails.
Laneway, yeah.
Yeah, to prevent erosion. So those ate up most of the money.
Is that for with us?
That's for Wertis.
Thanks.
So,
Good job. No,
thank you.
that's,
Thanks.
that's a win-win.
Win for the team.
Another quick question. Why do you have to give a report on our? Pertinence?
My boss says I'm required
My
to,
boss.
my position requires me to come to this meeting and
So remember, we're,
present.
Who's Heather?
we are put
She's-
into
she's the
existence
new Heather.
as,
Heather
as the
Rosenstein.
boots on the ground to, districts were put in existence as boots on the ground to be the vehicle that delivers NRCS funding to the producer. That is
Got it.
that is our basic main role, right?
From the Dust Bowl era.
From the Dust Bowl. So
We were like,
85
hey, we
years.
have a solution for the Dust Bowl, and everyone's like, we don't want the federal government on our property.
that's what we became. Yep.
So-
So we're
the
those
local-
trusted local.
That hasn't changed.
No.
Right, I am well aware.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Is it okay to ask when you're gonna go on leave?
Yeah, I'm due July 13th.
Good for you.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you, yeah. I'm very
You'll be
excited.
ready by then and the heat and everything.
Megan, Grant.
Not the best time, but
So, pending our grants pending, they were included in your packet. I'm streamlining.
Oh, okay.
If you have any questions on those, I am here to answer. And the ones we're preparing right now, also here to answer. So I guess I'm just gonna let you. I'm not
Does
gonna go
anybody
into
got
that.
any questions of the Midwest Glacial Partner, the NFWF?
I did, but I'll just ask Ben. I'll just save the time.
Okay,
I
perfect.
mean, if it's pertinent, we'll
Nope.
listen.
I'll
Alright,
just, I'll ask Ben.
alrighty, and then we're preparing the Eagle one, so. Good job.
Yeah, things are coming along. A lot of stuff we'll know here very soon.
And in the
And then-
essence of,
The last piece was the MACD.
Yeah.
We moved to the end. The MACD.
wow, that's right.
Are we doing this again? This MDARD thing?
Yes, but let's do this first and I'll talk
Okay.
to you about that. So, back to the MACD discussion, we are talking about, sending, directors to conferences as well as, we wanted to make sure it was visual, who tends to go to conferences, who's required, and then what pays for them to go. So this year, we, for our summer conference, Rivka is on our state council board, and she will be at the conference on Sunday for the state council meeting.
Which is not technically part of the conference.
Correct.
It's like a separate day. They fund the hotel stay for me to be there on Sunday because I'm only there early for state council.
And then she wanted to attend the conference, so I put in that piece, how much that would cost if we had Rivka attend for that time frame. And then I also did include what it cost for our winter conference to send someone. These are approximate costs. This year, our summer conference will be attended by myself, Karen Dawson and Morgan Anderson. And those are secure. The ones we need to decide on are Rivka herself, Tracy Weatherwax, who is our new soil conservation technician, and Christy Winslow. Although Christy looks like she can't, it's not even a date, she can't do it. So we're gonna take a look at that for the winter conference, so we don't need to think about Christy.
She could possibly do the online.
If they don't have that available.
I
right
don't
now.
think they're gonna. do
Oh.
that in person.
So, we need to decide on these two individuals. So Rivka's funding would come out of the district budget. And Tracy's funding would come out of the groundwater budget. I had intended to send her, so unless there's big red flags, would be a really good place for her to be. I think that's the basic of it. I think there was a lot of discussion with having Rivka go. It's been kind of the first time we've had so much participation from the board attending our MACD meeting. So there has been conversation around what kind of budget we'd like to see for our board to get trainings, and do we value the MACD conferences as that budget for training? So, I did have Jack join us so he can talk a little bit more about it. I also included in here these elements this is last year's elements.
Okay.
That, the board, the MDARD recommends for things like development. And they kind of do it in this rubric fashion where they have like a baseline expectations, effective practices, and then like high level performance. And when you look at the development piece, they kind of do have recommendations on that row. What they would suggest for, you know, a baseline expectation for districts and effective practice.
High achievers.
Yeah, or whether we're higher achievers.
Over, but you.
So, that's where I'm at. So we need to decide on whether we are going to pay for and send Rivka, and if we're in agreement with, utilizing those groundwater funds to send Tracy.
So Tracy basically gets paid out of her grant.
She gets paid out of groundwater funds, yeah.
She just started.
She did just start. This is specific for ag and soil tech, so that is exactly what she was hired for, and it is a good place for her to be.
Well, on that recommendation, I guess I got no problem with that particular, I mean, in the past, we never sent a lot of people and
You did. Staff.
we have went, yeah, you're correct, but the board has never been hugely.
I went the first year, I think, I was on the sport.
But it was,
Well, and Doug and I
It was a
went-
virtual one.
we didn't have to pay for you, right?
Yeah,
But you never actually went to the meeting.
Not in
physically,
person.
no.
So
Well, I
think we're
guess,
talking about budgets, like,
I
so
would
what are we
say,
budgeting
you know,
towards
I
our-
think it was really valuable. From my perspective, for both Doug and I to be there for the winter conference, I think. There was a lot of networking, I think there was a lot of great information, especially. Being my first year on the district, I definitely learned a lot, I was able to talk to other. Board of directors who've been on their districts longer and get an idea of what's working for your district, what's not working for your district. And I just found that invaluable, and I think there's not really another way to replicate that experience than just being there in person.
On the efficiency guy, did you take home more than you cost?
Oh, absolutely.
did
Absolutely.
the
Good
district,
investment.
did the
Yeah.
district,
District,
did the
Yeah,
district,
100%.
how?
how?
Just
the-
all of the things I just said, I mean,
She's the
it
VP.
being.
But
Wait a minute, what does that do for, what does that do for the district?
That's a separate issue. I mean,
It's still
definitely it
true.
has educated me being able to provide better feedback, better ideas, have more resources available when we've had questions. I think it's come up at multiple meetings, multiple conversations with Megan about things that other districts are doing or accomplishing. I mean, I think it would be great if we all went. I think it'd be
I-
fantastic use of resources.
I'd like to revisit going to some of these. I couldn't go last year, but.
All
Can I
right, so what,
talk?
yeah.
I got some stuff to say,
Oh, perfect.
and I took a little time on doing this. Can you pull up the agenda?
On the screen,
Go up, 2023 MACD Summer Conference.
I can do my best.
Okay, got a couple questions for Megan, and I really don't wanna cause no problems. So you come up with an $89 hotel stay, how'd you do that? I've never seen a hotel for $89.
That's the price.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Red
for our
Roof
block.
Inn.
No, this
That's
is,
a long
It's negotiated.
Per person, $89?
Yeah.
This is a tent and a campsite.
No,
This ain't seen DoubleTree
it's a
Hilton?
government rate that we get as employees, and it's a block of rooms, so that's what it costs
Okay.
for us to stay. Myself, any of you, we get that government rate.
Well, and I would
Breakfast.
say also, while she's pulling that up, Matt, obviously, I think it is valuable, or I wouldn't make the time to go, because like. It's also my cost of my time, you know, I'm taking time off from work, I'm finding childcare. Like, I'm doing all of those things on my end, because I do think it's valuable and worthwhile. I definitely wouldn't go through all of that if I didn't
To,
think
to
about it.
play devil's advocate to that, and please don't take offense for it, pay for it yourself, would you take money out of your pocket and go do it?
Well-
And I'm not trying to jab, I say that, I mean, quite bluntly, because
Yeah.
we've been here a long time and we talk around a lot of things, so bluntly, would you take money out of your own pocket?
So that's what
So
I'm saying.
wait a
is
minute
that-
before you
yeah.
answer that question, because I might say, then do that. You know, and at the end of the day, I've been to conferences, I haven't been to conferences, this and that and the other thing. At the end of the day, I will say, and everybody around this table has done it, we went to conferences because they have been paid for it.
Mhm.
Were they worth it? Some were over the moon, great, and the next one wasn't worth, you know, the 50-cent coffee that you got at break.
Mhm.
So that's what I guess, as I get a little older and a
Yeah.
little more skeptic, I look at, would I take money out of my pocket to do it? And with that, and when I say that, then at the end of the day, if we don't vote to send us or them or they, then, I doubt any one of us would take money out of our pocket to go. Along with all the childcare, and I know we all have a huge array that we leave at home when we go to do these things. So I guess that's my underlying question. I look at a conference and go, is it worth $900? Is it worth $900 to you to go to this conference for 2 or 3 days? Plus all your childcare and your, and your time and that.
Well, that's what I was trying to say is my time for that amount of time off from work, that amount of lost work to my clients is worth far more than $900.
Mhm.
So I'm already putting in above and beyond that out of my own resources to go.
Yeah.
So it's not really saying, is it worth $900 to go? It's really saying, is it worth the probably well over $900 I'm already putting in? And an additional 900. So you're really asking me to put $2,000 into
Yep.
going.
I am.
Which is a little different conversation because it's not a personal benefit to me. It is a benefit to the district. So I am already saying I'm willing to contribute my time, my lost wages, my additional costs for all of my personal things to go. That's my personal contribution to it. But because I'm not doing it for myself, I am doing it for the district. It does seem to make sense. But again, it's not about me. It's also about, I see this as a really valuable opportunity that I think setting precedent is important. So if there is
Who are we setting
somebody,
precedents for?
any possible future board member who wants to go, who maybe it would be impossible for them to go at $900, then we're excluding them from the education, that networking, and that valuable experience that makes them a better board member. So I don't want this to be a discussion about me specifically, and I don't think Megan's presenting it as a discussion about
Well,
me
put your name
specifically.
in it, which makes it
It's-
bad.
Well, okay, I
But,
mean,
like,
I'll
we
take the
just-
names off it. Is it worth anybody around this table?
Well,
spending
right.
$600?
Real question, right? Is
I mean,
this a valuable
we
thing
would
for us
not-
to
we
put
would not-
resources on?
We
Not
would-
for Rivka to go, but for board members to
Okay,
go. and
but
do
I
it.
don't think us as a board would send $2,000 to send each one of our employees down there. It isn't, we don't get the bang for our buck, we don't. So I guess that's what I'm saying, there's a cost to everything,
Mhm.
so, I mean, again, that's what I look at the end of the day, would I pay for it? And that's the question I gotta answer, I really have a hard time with these conferences. I've never been to this one personally, it was 12, 15 years ago, but, I have been to many governmental conferences in the last 25 to 30 years that were worth, the gas money to get there. So, I mean, and that's.
I mean, my experience with conferences in general is a lot of it is about what you put into it. So
Right.
if you go with the attitude, I'm just gonna sit here and passively look at somebody presenting, no. But if you're going, meeting as many people as possible, having conversations after dinner, it was valuable. At the winter conference, it was valuable for me to spend time with the staff. It was valuable for me to, like I said, meet other board of directors. It's not even just about the content that's presented, which is valuable and important, but it's about the opportunity to network. And there's not really another way to do that or to replace it. So to me, absolutely. Again, not even about me, but if we're just saying, are we going to support board members going to these types of events? 100%. Even if you guys were like, we're going to send one person, we don't want it to be Rivka, we want it to be Doug. Like, fine. I think it's valuable for us to have someone from here have a seat at the table.
I think it should be open to all board members.
Doug, what was your 2 cents? You started into. the
All right,
conference
number one is. I'd like to review the cost a little more. Because I think you'd like, because we gotta go, you're going on the minimum.
Actually,
I'm
I made a
going-
mistake. She only needs one night from us, so this 2 nights is actually only 89.
I'm not talking Rivka, I'm talking any board member.
Yeah,
here.
any
So
board
let's just leave it
No,
the
but
way
okay,
it is.
any board member, I did make a mistake. It should be
Because-
tonight.
I've got, and I screwed up because
Mhm.
I thought you were doubling up people in rooms, and I didn't think it was the, what, $78 or whatever it was, $89. I thought it was like $179. I tried going online and I couldn't get on there to see what the conference rates were. So, but, okay. So. I've got roughly, well, you got $178, no taxes, right?
No,
So you're talking $200.
we don't have
Even
taxes.
out.
We don't pay
You don't
taxes.
pay a
We're a gov-
hotel tax?
No, we're a government entity. We don't pay state taxes at all.
And again, she said it's
How do you get
actually
away
only
from
89.
hotel
So-
tax?
So really it's
This is
89 plus
actually-
We do pay
290.
a hotel.
Like
Okay,
it's the
so we're gonna
conference
just say, just for convenience, we're gonna say $200.
Yeah, but that's not right. This isn't right. It's only one night. So it's.
I'm not talking Rivka,
$100.
I'm talking anybody.
I know, but I'm saying this isn't right. It's actually.
Doug, we
one
get
night.
the,
Anybody is only one night is what she's saying.
whether it's 80, 89 or 98, move on.
Cause it's a Monday, Tuesday conference, so you're only staying for Monday night.
Mhm,
It's $89 regardless of who goes.
yes,
I thought they had stuff on there for Wednesday.
they use. It's only, it's Monday.
Everybody
Monday and
leaves on the
Tuesday.
last
We
day.
come home
Well,
Tuesday.
usually everybody stays the night and then yes, leaves.
We
is
leave
there a
Tuesday
Wednesday?
night. No,
Yeah, there's, it's just,
As long as the first night bash is covered, everybody else.
yeah, it's just through
Okay.
Tuesday. There's one night.
so
So
it's
it's
actually
$89.
$100 less than what I estimated.
All right, so I'm gonna have $200 less than that, so, all right. So we have $150. And conference fees, $290, meals you got $30 a day, I put 3 days, so now we're less, but whatever.
Just take the bottom
Mileage.
number and divide it.
Mileage is driving there and back to Bay City is $204 for the mileage. So you're roughly around $800. I did the winter conference, which I don't know what the nights cost,
Same.
It could be the same.
$85, some off a little bit, so you're roughly $1,000, which Megan and I talked about before. So my suggestion is one, send one one board member to MACD conference for a 4-year term, preferred fall conferences. One different board member attends a fall conference per year within the first 2 years of joining the board. Or we take this money, so it's a benefit for all board members, and use it for staff training, board members and staff training, and have one meeting per year like we did with Pam Evans. So it benefits all.
I think there's 2 things to talk about today, since I'm listening to what you said. I
I
think that
got one more. Were you planning on attending one meeting? Or all meetings?
What do you mean?
What, you wanna attend this one, are you gonna attend the fall one? And the next one?
I mean, I, as a human being, always want to learn as much as I possibly can and be the most effective in my role as I possibly can. I found the fall conference to be valuable, as long as the board felt it was valuable for us to invest in this, I would make the time whenever possible.
That's about an $8,000 price tag for 4 years.
But again, it's not really about me, it's about what are.
No, I'm
we-
saying, no, I'm saying, I'm
board
just saying,
member,
per
for
board member.
Right,
So you take another one, you actually get a discount a little bit for your
Yeah.
meetings. But still, that's a pretty good chunk of change, 2 people going. So I don't know where the benefits, there's your truck payment.
I think that.
Honestly.
Well, I hear you, but it is important that our board members get trainings.
I
I really think it's
did
really
not say
important.
not knowing that.
And I
Right.
also think that, yes, I think that there's a place for everyone to attend, but not everybody has that same desire to attend in that capacity, and that's okay. I value opinion from, let's say from Tim, I value his opinion, he's not gonna wanna go to a MACD meeting, but he still has value, and I value that, what he's bringing in. I personally have really felt supported by having board members attend these meetings, and I do think that they have value and that they bring back stuff to the board, and we're able to utilize that knowledge. I think that there needs to be a policy. I think that you are right, because now that we are coming into a world where we actually have board members that want to attend on a regular basis, I really think we do need a policy. I think you have some great options there. I think that what I'd like to do is, let's decide on whether we're gonna send Rivka to this one and create take those suggestions and create a policy that we can vote on in July for us to continue with how we want to fund board members to go to conferences. What do you guys want? Is one for everyone what we want? Is, like, I don't know. So like what you said, all those different options, I think that's fantastic. I think we do need a policy.
I think the more training, the better. I mean, I guess the question of whether or not a specific training that you go to has benefit. But when I took the virtual one, the year I came on, which was a pandemic year, it was extremely helpful in kind of getting me acclimated to things I wasn't as familiar with. And I think that because we're one of the largest conservation districts in the state, maybe the largest, I think any one of us should be going to any of those conferences at any time. And yes, there's a price tag to some of that, but I think there's gonna be a benefit in leadership coming back to our conservation district. And the training, I think the training piece has always gotta be there, because you gotta learn new things. You can't do that by not going out and getting them.
Did you ever go to a Region 7 meeting?
I don't think I've been to one of those.
You need to go, because that's all the conservation districts in our area, all go there with their staff, board members, all kick around ideas. You're sitting in the same room, not split up like an MACD. That's where Rivka got her position. I nominated her, but
What do you mean
you
not on
get a
purpose?
chance to talk to all the areas, and you're only gone for a day. You're not sure.
I got there.
You agreed to it.
That's
That
the
was a
best.
I think you guys are
thing
looking
you
at
can
it
go
through an
to.
austerity lens, and this is not like, it's a soft benefit as opposed to a hard benefit. And I always think these types of things are valuable, so. I mean.
What happened if you wanna go, and we'll have this discussion afterwards, and if you get paid back for it, if we all decide to pay the fee. Or if we don't, you're still okay. I mean, you went, you got to go. I mean, no one's saying you can't go.
I wouldn't be comfortable with that. I would never ask an employee to do that, and you guys.
No, I'm not asking an employee. I'm not
I know,
asking an
but-
employee. I'm on board. I'm saying, you're missing my point. My point to all this is. If it's this important for you, again, we're back to, would you pay for it yourself? And I mean, we are squabbling over pennies here, but I mean, $8,000 into somebody in a 4-year term is. We don't
Can we
spend
look at the
$8,000 on a lot of
agenda?
different things around here.
Can we look at the agenda and show me what's beneficial to a board member for being at a conference?
Start on Monday, or this is,
Well,
okay,
Sunday is the state council.
That's nothing to do with, that's separate.
So there we've got the kickoff luncheon, which everyone attends. And you see little highlighted pieces where they highlight who benefits from these pieces. And you'll see district managers, admins, state council members, MDOT staff, NRCS staff, partners, that kind of thing. Then you've got we have different tracks you can take. You've got the employee benefits track, which would be stuff for like me. Maybe.
Yeah,
I
but
see where it's
I think
like,
I think we need to jump past everything for you and staff.
Well, it doesn't.
And go
jump like
back
that.
to-
Well,
It
and-
doesn't jump like that, so just let me go through it.
the blue
But-
also is applicable to board members, because like I went to all of the HR trainings at the fall or the winter conference.
you can go to any.
That definitely benefited me being able to be a bigger asset to the hiring process.
100%. I'm not gonna go through this. You guys see what it is. So we've got forestry. You have me. These are all the same time tracks. These are all options. Managing service center, NRCS staff, again, same track.
District
Investments in local
directors.
government 101, conservation district directors specifically, all the same time. So this is the same track. So she would attend this one, or a board member would attend this one. The second track, you have several, you have delivering. Also, this is the one together, one we're delivering conservation to communities, underserved communities, so I'll have a conversation there.
When does this decision need to be made?
ASAP.
When do we?
It's gotta be
Today.
done
I've
today.
already registered everyone else.
Bring her to a vote, Matt.
Well, that's my point here. I guess,
I'm in support of Rick going.
is that a motion?
I would make a motion to allow Rivka to go to the summer conference. And to,
Are we gonna call names or are we gonna say how many people from the board?
I mean.
Does anybody else? wanna
Yeah,
go?
does anybody else wanna go? That's never been asked yet.
Summer conference would be great for me, to be honest, because
All right, we're gonna
You're gonna
stop.
go?
Stop,
I would.
okay. This, we're talking about this conference and how many, how many does your motion say we're gonna send to this conference? This conference.
Well, I guess, what are we all gonna live with here? I mean, I see, right, like, I'm on board for, you know what I'm saying, but like, what are you guys, it's up to you guys, right?
Oh,
'Cause
what is your you're making a motion. What does your motion say? How many people are we gonna send to this conference?
if 2 went in the winter, I would say I recommend 2 going in the summer.
Is that your motion?
Sure. That's my motion.
Is there
Allow
support?
2
So using OCD funding.
For 2
To
board
send two
members.
board
To
members.
send 2 board members,
To attend summer conference.
Mhm.
and that's this conference, correct? Yep, all right. Is there support?
I would support that.
It has been moved and supported. All those, is there any more discussion? Hate to say that, but. We will,
Jack, do you have something to say?
Yeah, he came out there, he was gonna talk today.
well, this ain't a Jack thing. This is if we're gonna spend the money. So,
No, it just looks like.
This ain't Jack.
You know.
so I get, okay, with that, there's a motion on the board. Kelly, how do you vote?
I vote in favor of sending 2.
Yes
board
or no?
members.
How do you
Yes,
vote?
Yes.
Tim,
I'm voting, no, I'm a boots on the ground guy.
Doug,
Is it just for this one?
yes.
And it doesn't say who the 2 people are, it just says 2.
We don't
board
want
members.
names on things. That got everything all cluttered up before. There's no names. It's positions going. 2 people
Are you
to this
going?
summer conference.
I would go if you voted to allow 2 board members, I would go.
That's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be the
say
next
yes.
motion. Rivka, how do you vote?
Yeah,
Passes.
do we need to vote on
That's
who's
just
going
for
now?
this one.
That is, that was her motion to send 2 people to this,
Except
Conference.
The next one, right?
so,
Yes. Cause I think Doug has some really good proposals as far as,
well,
How to
but
look
that
for
has
it
nothing to
going
do with
forward.
this, his proposals are for the next one because we needed this ASAP. So,
Wait, got one more, man. Gotta do the. Tracy.
you know what?
Oh,
Tracy.
yeah, are we good? Can we vote on something? Can we do a motion?
I have
Tracy's-
make a motion to cover Tracy's attendance to the
Is it-
summer conference.
Is it covered by,
The ground
grant?
budget.
Do we really
Ground
need to
budget.
approve staff members going? I mean, I guess
didn't-
that's kind
I
of.
didn't
the
think we
Well-
had to.
I mean, you guys
we
had
never
suggested
dragged
it.
in, now it all got dragged in.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
suggested it in the financial committee meeting that you
Yep.
wanted me to list it out and you wanted me to make sure that everyone got talked about. So that is why I put it here.
Open.
So here's my question, if we,
Now it's all gonna come out.
if we send a new staff member every year and they leave, then we gotta keep do this every year,
Staff, to
I
me
have no problem with
personally,
staff
it's a
going.
different thing,
I mean, that's a
because
whole
it's
different animal.
education, they're hired here, board members. You got 4 years and you can be out the door. No,
Or
do
12.
I think it's good for somebody to go once? Yes, I went twice in 15 years, I think. First time, I did not like it at all. Second time, I got done what I wanted to do, but I didn't get a benefit out of a lot of it. I'm different from Rivka. She's in there to meet people
Yeah,
Play
I'd be
little
maximizing that
politics.
shit.
and be on her board. So that's
All
totally.
right, so do we have to vote on the staff member going?
I think that's.
I
Rivka's
personally,
decision.
we haven't done it before. So I'd really rather not.
I
but
don't think we need to. I mean, I think staff
We
and
can
Then
bring
I'm
that
good.
up on the next time.
that,
And we can
I
put it
guess
in the
if,
policy.
if you want a policy that states that, then again, that's a whole nother issue. It's after 9 o'clock at night and things are getting a little
Well, you
punchy.
know, we got fewer meetings now, so that puts more stuff.
No, we started early to get done early and we ain't getting done early. So, what else do we need to
We
cover
got
in this meeting?
The Dan thing we were gonna ask.
I'm
you
sorry,
about.
well, we had Jack, do you have a report?
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Well, we got one for you from.
Yeah, it was submitted.
Yes,
I've got nothing to add other than just to point out we have a new director. Tim Boring comes from a 6th generation farm in Stockbridge. He was the vice president of MABA, Michigan Agribusiness Association. He was research director for the soybean growers. And for 2 years, he was the FSA state director. So he doesn't have to be trained.
no,
He's familiar with Michigan agriculture.
And then
Mazel tov.
Matt or Doug, you had a question for,
It was on the legislative thing.
Dan
Dan
Mullen.
sent out the email, don't read it, don't do this if you're on company time, open it with company computers. Now, what does that all mean? Where's the legal or not legal, especially with these guys going?
Sure. Paid employees of government entities cannot lobby. So if paid staff go to the legislative day on May 18th, they shouldn't be paid to do it. Board members are different. You're elected, you're not a paid staff
What
person.
about taking company vehicles there?
Same.
That changes it all.
No, see, I thought, and maybe
So
this is
why
the
is
other thing, that there's like a
last year,
threshold of
but-
how much time you're allowed to give. Or, you know, as a staff member lobbying, you know what I'm saying, to receive funds for your organization. And that was more nonprofit focused rather than government entity focused.
We're not a nonprofit, that's the problem. We're
Okay.
a local unit of state government.
So what they did a couple months back where they went and talked to their legislature, that wasn't really lobbying, it was just meeting your legislator.
Correct. This is a lobbying day.
I mean, if anyone would like to take the day off, you know, they can come, right? But no paid staff time, like you can't go, which is kind of.
Right.
unfortunate.
Ben and I were planning on going and
Yeah.
driving and taking Rivka. It's a work day. It's all day Thursday. But if that's the case, then we need to have some conversations.
This came up at the last minute. Our. Somebody posed this question to our legal counsel. And he looked at it and he said, yeah, absolutely not. And. It would be a bad look if a legislator made a big deal out of it.
So
We'll
we
just have
don't
to
wanna
review
be,
that then. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
And so, you
We'll just
know,
have to bring it up, tell me all the things.
why don't we,
Just give it all to Rivka.
figure out what you're doing right now?
We'll probably give it to Rivka to take care of. I mean,
Yeah, he'll just have to tell me all the information.
I don't know that I'm gonna take up anything day to.
well, if it's May 18th, I might be able to go. Yeah. That's the kind of thing
Well,
where,
And I don't, we'll have to check with
With
Dan
our
too, because like the
RSVP.
RSVPs were closed a while ago. And I don't know fully what all of the logistics for Dan is for that.
Yeah, I'll have to look
This,
into it.
this cut attendance pretty significant.
Mhm.
We might drop down.
but yeah, if you lose 2 people and gain 1,
Right.
that is one thing I do recommend that board members make it a point to attend. Because it's funding.
I would agree.
So who wants to go with me? Matt?
I already told you, no.
That's my report.
thank you, sir.
Hey,
Thank you for
Matt,
coming.
I love it when you give us.
What you need?
opportunities.
Just a sec.
Like, no, you can't do
Megan.
this.
This is, I think it's your guys' decision. Public comment was at the beginning of the meeting. We do have one member of the public here now that wants to make a comment. That's up to you guys, I think.
Oh,
So we bypass that? I wasn't here.
That's up to you guys. I have no idea. I just,
I don't think we did. There was no one.
yeah, he did.
Yeah, I offered public comment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, it is at the beginning of the meeting, but you're here. Fire away. You got your 90 seconds. 2 minutes, actually, I think is what the policy says, 122nd.
So my name is Howard Fink. I'm the township manager for Park Township. And
Park Township.
where is Park Township? It's
Oh.
basically north of Holland.
Mm.
So anything that is north of Lake Macatawa and west of 144th and south of New Holland. is
I
Park
got it.
Township, okay? So you, first of all, Rivka and I are friends, so and so she invited me, so thank you. I thought the meeting was at 7. I didn't realize it was at 6. Want to tell you that you have a great executive director. I've been in local government management for over 20 years.
Thank you.
You have an executive director who knows finance, who knows process, who can work with a board. You've got a good one. The reason why I wanted to talk with you all is Park Township is engaging in farmland preservation. And I know that you probably don't think of Park Township as a big player in the ag world, but I will tell you this: if we do not act now, you will lose all the blueberry farms in Park Township. We just recently put ourselves into the Ottawa County Ag Preservation Program, which is why I wanted you to stay and hear this. The land in Park Township is very valuable, and there is tremendous development pressure, and there will be in perpetuity. If there is not a concerted effort to protect the blueberry farms in Park Township, you will lose them.
Yeah, we're gonna get them from China. Go ahead, keep going.
Well, actually, you're gonna get them for Venezuela,
Yeah.
but
I know.
but let's not go there. If any of you know Carlos, who is the blueberry expert at the MSU Extension, he will tell you that this is the best place in the entire world to grow blueberries. We need to work to preserve that.
What
Unfortunately,
can we do for you?
thank you. Unfortunately, there is not enough funding at the county level in the Purchase and Development Rights Program in order to protect those farms. Our planning commission, a lot at my behest and others in leadership in Park Township, are working to look at how do you protect the blueberry farms? Whether that be agritourism, whether that be diversification of income, purchase of development rights, those are the type of things that we're going to be looking at in the master plan. And there is some discussion of potentially, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it has been discussed of a millage for protection of, or for purchase of development rights for ag preservation.
Give you a suggestion?
Yes.
I have a brother-in-law in Canada by Niagara Falls, and there's a little belt
Mhm.
right along, kind of like this,
Mhm.
and they grow high-dollar vineyards.
Correct.
They have preserved it 100%, the whole area. You may not build a house unless you tear one down.
Correct, but that's zoning, okay? And zoning gets changed by the courts. This is the problem. If you think about farmland preservation,
So zone it into ag and keep it there.
if you think about farmland preservation and you only look at it from a zoning perspective, you will lose. You are correct.
So how do
but
they do
only-
it?
You are correct, but you have to have a multi-pronged approach. Your entire philosophy, whether it be extension of utilities, whether it be purchase of development rights, whether it be zoning, whether it be the master plan, it all has to connect. If you leave it up to just a zoning issue, the courts will overrule you. You have thousands upon thousands of homes
Mhm.
that are, the amount of homes that are considered in Ottawa County under what is needed in this area is significant.
Yeah.
Eventually, the courts are made up of individuals just like you and I. Judges are elected
Yeah,
and
I get it.
lawyers are paid for. You will lose those farms. It will not be a successful ag preservation strategy.
So what's your, yeah,
Yeah.
So I'm not having a suggestion. You are all the conservation district. You have this young lady here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we need help. And so think of Park Township when you think about ag preservation. The other thing that I've
it
actually
ain't
had,
just Park Township, buddy. It's everywhere.
yes, but in Ottawa County particularly, you have the world's best
I get that.
blueberry farm
I get all
production. So you gotta focus on it.
When it's
and-
gone, it's gone.
And when it's gone, it's gone. And it's not coming back. And it's a cultural issue here too.
Yeah.
I bet you everybody who's lived in Ottawa County knows somebody or is families with somebody who has gone and picked those blueberries by hand on their own.
Yep.
There you go. And so once you lose that, you lose that.
You said something in your opening comment about you just got on with preservation
Mhm.
Ottawa County. So that means you
That's
just
big.
signed the ordinance here just lately?
Yes,
That's
What
big.
took you so long?
I've
It's
I've
been
been
here
here for about 6 or 7 years,
for,
so
okay, and
So-
farmland preservation in Ottawa County has been here for going on 10 years.
yeah, so.
I'm
good-
I'm
good
doing a little
point.
devil's advocate here.
Good
because-
point, but it's a red herring. It's a red herring of logic. What you're saying is, why didn't we do it before? We had other issues that we were addressing, and this is now the issue that we as
Burner.
staff
Mhm.
are able to present to a board and say, this is a policy issue that we need to be addressed. So
But 10
before
years ago,
that,
but 10 years ago, just like today, it didn't cost you a dime to put the ordinance in place. When the farmland
I
preservation,
wasn't here 10 years.
well, whenever you got here, it was here, then it was here all year while. And again, you know, the farmland preservation has had a hard time getting taken off because we couldn't even get the townships in the county to sign on to it. Only a handful of counties have done that, or a handful of townships have done it. So
Well,
I'm with you. you know,
I come from.
I happen to know a guy who's got a preserved farm.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, you know, it's been here a long time. Yes, it's severely underfunded. This, I like your idea of funding it from the township level. But this needs to be a state. Right now, we're in the process of writing a bill to fund farmland preservation.
Yeah.
And,
I
you
can
know,
tell you
say-
one of the problems. One of the problems is,
oh, I know your problems. I mean, I'm just saying. 30 years ago, I started on this quest. I'm sorry, but I know everything there is to know about farmland preservation, you know, around. So I mean, yes, I get it.
Washtenaw County has preserved over 20,000 acres of farmland. They have figured out a way to
They have a millage.
merge.
They have a millage.
Well, how did they do that?
Grand Traverse Bay has a millage.
But how did they do that?
You gotta
They
sell.
have figured out a way
Kent
to,
County, you know, they had a millage, but then it got voted down.
There's no way our commission's gonna vote on a millage.
No way, our
they
commission.
have figured out a way to merge the land use policies of townships and cities.
Mhm.
The
Yep.
land use policy of cities and townships are very different. People, right now, we're in a divided nation. To some extent, we're in a divided county. Okay, we need to talk about how do we come together in ways that are mutually beneficial to our communities. Townships, particularly rural townships, want to preserve farmland, want to do agricultural preservation. Cities want development and growth. It's the perfect merger of entities. That is the message that has to be produced. That is the message that has to be talked to at the county level. That is the message that has to be created, is to say, it's not a either or, it's we can do this together and have a win-win situation for our land use policies. So my request.
I love
is-
your passion. Hang in there. I'm
Uh,
just saying,
Request. How can we help?
well,
Have it
two
on the
things.
radar.
One is help us with information as we go through this process on farmland preservation. And then the second thing is help us with resources. So when we're out there talking to our farmers, when we're having meetings, when we're trying
You
to
gotta
identify
sell it to the
funds.
general public. I
Can I
think.
jump in?
The farmers in
Yes,
your town.
Darcy, please, go for
I
it.
know I'm not a board member, but I'm
You're good.
working with Becky to
Yep.
plan an outreach event to blueberry farmers. We're planning January 2024. Combination of talking about our programs, their programs, trying to really get it on the radar of all the farmers in Park Township that they're eligible now. And also highlighting our wetland reserve program, which is an easement program, so we are trying to
Yay.
And you guys are doing great work. And so I'm here to highlight that, highlight what we're doing, and hopefully we can plan.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah,
your passion.
thank you.
And we definitely have resources, so don't hesitate to reach out to our office.
Sell to the public.
But we
Yeah.
plan on trying.
You should.
The farmers are in.
The public funds that the farmers have already
Do you
paid
need a
their,
motion to adjourn?
yes, I do.
Motion to adjourn. So,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
it's like.
Well, I'm glad we got started an hour early.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
It's just me as well.
Yeah.
The down